Chapter 363. What a joke. You were the one who gossiped as you watched the battle, but you immediately became angry after I said a few words? Is the full moon stage the territory of the snow listening tower? Only you are allowed to be unbridled, but others cannot speak the truth? The rest of the people at the other tables were secretly laughing. Jiang Mufei really had a glib tongue. With just a few words, she had humiliated Zhou Yinshan. Oomph. Lass, I think you need to be taught a lesson. Zhou Yinshan shattered the wine cup in front of him, brushing his sleeves as he stood up, taking large strides toward the center of the full moon stage. Let me ask you, do you dare to fight me? Zhou Yinshan grunted. Jiang Mufei was not afraid. Why would I not dare? So you wanted to stop her, but it was too late. She was still young and impetuous. She could not resist Zhou Yinshan's provocative words. A cold smile appeared on Zhou Yinshan's lips. You do not know your limits. Whoosh! Zhou Yinshan's voice was still in the air when his body dissipated. That was his afterimage. His real body had already appeared in front of Jiang Mufei. Jiang Mufei's eyelids twitched, her expression serious. She had not managed to capture Zhou Yinshan's identity. Their abilities were not on the same level. I will not bully you. I will let you have 2 moves. Zhou Yinshan clasped his hands behind his back, calmly saying, with his abilities of an immortal realm level 4, letting Jiang Mufei attack him was not an insult. Jiang Mufei grunted, Peach Blossom Rain. The full moon stage was immediately covered by peach blossom petals. Like a thunderstorm, the peach blossom petals formed a storm, engulfing Zhou Yinshan. In terms of power, it was many times stronger than when she was fighting Mu Tianfang. She had been hiding her abilities just now. Zhou Yinshan's expression was calm, his expression filled with disdain. The people of the 100 Territories Alliance only have such insignificant tricks. He stood with his hands behind his back, not moving an inch. Creak, creak, but when the peach blossom rain shot toward him, it exploded a zhang away from his body, turning into spirit energy and dissipating. Looking closely, Zhou Yinshan's spirit energy was so thick that it covered a zhang away from his body. The peach blossom rain could not penetrate that thick spirit energy and was instead shattered by the thick spirit energy. Compared to Mu Tianfang, who could not even work together, everyone's hearts trembled. As expected of an immortal realm level 4. Just his spirit energy alone far surpassed that of an immortal realm level 3. The gap between the two was like a chasm. There's still one more move. Zhou Yinshan was calm as he teased. Jiang Mufei's pretty face was slightly pale, her face full of dissatisfaction. Oomph, it's not over yet. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Once again, a rain of peach blossoms filled the sky. The peach blossoms turned into imprints that surrounded Zhou Yinshan, wrapping him up tightly. What's the point of using the same old trick again? Zhou Yinshan's disdainful voice sounded from within the peach blossom mark. Jiang Mufei's lips curled into a cold smile. Try it and you'll know. Peach blossom tribulation. Bang! Suddenly, a peach blossom mark exploded violently. The power produced was equivalent to an attack from an immortal realm level 3 lower tier fighter. It set off waves of energy, causing the guests at the surrounding tables to instantly become nervous. Peach blossom rain can explode? Moreover, its might is so terrifying. Many geniuses were shocked. Bang, bang, bang. Then, tens of thousands of peach blossoms surrounded Zhou Yinshan and exploded. Countless explosions stacked together, forming a rumble that shook the heavens. The entire Phoenix Tower shook violently because of it. The roof of the pavilion was directly blown away by the terrifying explosion, and the wooden beams and roof tiles were turned into flying ash. The dust rained down, covering the sky above the full moon stage in dust. 2 tables were too close and were sent flying on the spot. The people at the tables were sent flying out of the Phoenix Tower, groaning in pain. The rest of the people had no choice but to use their spirit energy to suppress the tables, protecting themselves from the attack of the shock waves. Even Su Yu had to form a layer of spirit energy on the surface of his body to defend against the impact. What a powerful secret technique! Su Yu was secretly shocked. The power of this move was close to Immortal Realm level 4. Suyu knew that he was not completely confident that he could take this move head-on. He realized that he had underestimated this genius young lady. Under the seemingly innocent and cute surface, there was a terrifying combat power that was beyond imagination. It could be said that Jiang Mufei was already half a step into Immortal Realm level 4. But when the dust settled and the crowd looked at Zhou Yinshin, their pupils dilating. They saw that Zhou Yinshin was still standing with his hands behind his back. His feet had not moved a single step. All of the dust and the remaining shockwaves from the explosion revolved half a zhang away from him, unable to get close to him. Revolving spirit energy, deflecting the power of the explosion. Zhongwan rarely spoke, his expression serious. I heard that the Snow Listening Tower has a unique technique called Devouring Vortex. It contains a shred of a legendary level technique. After successfully cultivating it, one can control spirit energy to form a vortex, deflecting 90% of attacks. But the difficulty of cultivating it is extremely high. In the history of the Snow Listening Tower, only geniuses with the potential to become a tower master had the chance to cultivate it. In the current generation, from what I know, only Zhou Yinshin has succeeded. Devouring Vortex? The geniuses were shocked. A godly technique that contained a shred of a legendary level technique? An invincible defense that could deflect 90% of attacks. Unless one's cultivation level is higher than his, I have never heard of anyone of the same level being able to break through the absolute defense of the Devouring Vortex. Zhongwan was serious. He stood calmly in the middle of the arena, the revolving spirit energy on the surface of Zhou Yinshin's body receding. He shot a cold gaze toward Jiang Mufei. 2 moves have passed. Now I will not hold back, humph. Only a ghost would fight you. I admit defeat. Jiang Mufei wrinkled her nose, admitting defeat cunningly. The difference between the two of them was too terrifying. She naturally would not fight head-on. Zhou Yinshin let out a light grunt. Losing without a fight. You really brought honor to the 100 Territories Alliance. After saying this, Zhou Yinshin's eyes flashed, shooting towards Suyu. You have seen enough of the show. Do you still have the confidence to challenge me now? The shocking battle abilities he had just displayed had changed the minds of the geniuses. The second son of the Snow Listening Tower, Zhou Yinshin, was even more frightening than the rumors said. But what made the crowd petrified was that Suyu calmly looked around. Does anyone want to fight him? He had wanted to fight a few times, but was stopped every time. That was why he had asked this question. His voice reverberated in the deathly silent full moon stage. No one responded. Suyu then slowly stood up. Zhou Yinshin, you still have an hour. Prepare your coffin. The geniuses gasped, their hearts filled with confusion. If Suyu's arrogance was due to his fearlessness and ignorance, now that he had seen Zhou Yinshin's abilities as a peak king, it was inconceivable that he could still say such overbearing words. Zhou Yinshin let out a light breath, laughing in anger. I really do not know how such a stupid person like you managed to survive until today. Let's fight first. If no one is going to collect your corpse, I will get someone to find a coffin for you. You do not have to worry about what will happen after you die. Since he had said this, they could only fight. Suyu slowly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they glowed fiercely. Let's fight. Chapter 364. Ingyu. At this moment, Lu Li calmly said, You are now representing the Empire of Darkness. Even though you have no chance of winning at your level, you must not admit defeat so easily. Even if you lose, you must lose with all your might. Losing without a fight is discrediting the Empire of Darkness. Be bold and fight. Later, I will personally fight to regain the honor of the Empire of Darkness. The crowd creased their brows. Even though Suyu's abilities were much weaker than Zhou Yinshin's, he was certain that Suyu would be defeated before the fight even began. However, before the battle even started, he was certain that Suyu would suffer a crushing defeat, and he swore that he would retrieve the honor that Suyu had lost for the Empire of Darkness. Was he not afraid that his actions would affect Suyu's battle intent? Mu Tianfang glared at Lu Li, her expression unfriendly, During the sparring session at the Bright Moon Banquet, everyone has two choices. Either you fight or you shut up. Which will you choose? Lu Li's expression was calm. I will fight sooner or later. Now, there's just a chance for Yu to practice. Glancing at him, Mu Tianfang announced, the match begins. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them flew to the center of the full moon stage. One was an Immortal Realm Level 4, the other an Immortal Realm Level 3 upper tier. Both released their spirit energy at the same time. Hiss! In an instant, the guests secretly gasped a few times. Under the pressure of that spirit energy, their chests felt heavy and uncomfortable. Breathing became difficult, as if the air had frozen. Of course, this was caused by Zhou Nianxin's aura. Compared to Zhou Nianxin's aura, Su Yu's pressure was negligible. The two of them were like a child and an adult. Just the difference in spirit energy was an insurmountable chasm. With such a huge difference, it was hard for the crowd to believe that there would be any suspense in their battle. Do you need me to let you attack first? Zhou Nianxin crossed his arms, a mocking smile appearing on his face. Su Yu shook his head expressionlessly. No need. Zhou Nianxin laughed. In the face of your life, you still place your pride above all else. It is not wrong to call you stupid. In Zhou Nianxin's eyes, Su Yu was unwilling to be humiliated and had refused to let him attack first. You are wrong. Letting me attack first will only make you die faster. Su Yu's expression was calm and peaceful. If you do not wish to die mysteriously, take this seriously. An arrogant person like you can only be awakened by cruel reality. Zhou Nianxin shook his head in disdain. In that case, I'll send you on your way. Devouring vortex. With a low grunt, Zhou Nianxin casually raised his finger, pointing at Su Yu from afar. A thumb-sized vortex of spiritual energy appeared in front of Zhou Nianxin's finger. Bang! With a flick of his finger, a small spiritual energy vortex shot towards Su Yu at a moderate speed. Bang, bang, bang. In the sky above the full moon platform, a series of light sounds suddenly exploded like firecrackers. That was caused by the violent turbulence of qi and friction. If one were to focus their senses, they would discover that the spiritual energy within a radius of 1 kilometer had become unprecedentedly restless. All of it was being drawn toward the small vortex and swallowed into its depths. After devouring a wisp of spiritual energy, the power of the whirlpool would double. In the blink of an eye, it grew from the size of a finger to the thickness of an arm. A scalp-numbing suction force was emitted from the vortex. It was as if it wanted to devour human flesh and blood. The seemingly harmless little whirlpool contained an astonishing amount of energy. Defense is merely a function of the devouring vortex. Its true power lies in its attack. Zhou Nianxin stood with his arms crossed, calmly looking at Su Yu, who was gradually closing in. Zhou Wan's expression was grave. The power of the vortex is comparable to the power of Mu Fei's Peach Blossom Calamity. Immortal Realm Level 3s have no chance of dealing with it. But unexpectedly, Su Yu's expression was calm. He slowly raised his finger, pointing toward the sky. A faint yet mighty voice came from his mouth. Heaven and earth, ice and thunder, heed my command, calamity descend. Rumble. A majestic divine decree enveloped an area of 1 mile, with Su Yu at the center. It was as if the natural thunder and ice of the world were under Su Yu's control. With a thought, dark clouds covered the sky, snow swirling in the air. A purple lightning dragon roared within the cloud layer. Following Su Yu's command, the Thunder Ice Dragon, formed from the fusion of thunder and ice, roared as it smashed down with a destructive force. The lightning dragon collided with the vortex. Creak! Without a sound, the lightning dragon was completely destroyed before it could even react. Zhou Nianxin shook his head mockingly. The legendary Divine Grade Divine Decree? Its power is only SOSO. Roar! But at this moment, 3 purple dragons appeared within the dark clouds at the same time. It whizzed down and shook the heavens. The 3 Thunder Ice Dragons had finally shaken the vortex. Crack! The vortex of spirit energy showed signs of slowing down and dispersing. Waves of cold energy and thunder arcs surrounded the vortex. But the three thunder dragons were easily swallowed. Zhou Yinshin's smile turned rigid for a moment before he regained his composure. Merely SOSO, but he had just finished his sentence when the roars of 5 thunder ice dragons could be heard from the cloud layer. The 5 thunder dragons, each as thick as a water bucket, descended with a shocking aura. Creak! The sound of destruction reverberated throughout the full moon stage. The two of them were evenly matched in their first exchange. The remaining thunder arcs and cold energy, as well as the dispersing spiraling spirit energy, shot toward all directions of the full moon stage. Cries of pain could be heard from the crowd. A few tables were lifted by the strong wind, blowing people and tables into the sky. Some of them were charred by the thunder arcs, some were frozen cold, and some were scratched by the spiraling spirit energy. Apart from Zhong Wan and Lu Li's table, no one was unscathed. The exchange between the two was extremely close to an immortal realm level 4. Suyu himself also staggered back a few steps, the blood in his chest raging. He had suffered some light injuries. His clothes and silver hair were in a mess. It was not easy to block that attack. However, everyone's hearts were in turmoil. Inu could fight Zhou Yinshin to a standstill. Mu Tianfang was shocked. His abilities are even more frightening than the rumors say. Jiang Mufei's face had lost its cuteness, replaced with seriousness and disbelief. Is he really that strong? The devouring vortex was stronger than the peach blossom rain. Jiang Mufei did not have the confidence to take it head-on. But Suyu had done it. If it had been their previous battle, the outcome would have been clear. No wonder Zhong Wan had acknowledged Suyu. Jiang Mufei finally understood. Even though she had said that Zhong Wan would not be wrong about people, she had her own pride. Otherwise, she would not have chosen Suyu as her first target. She wanted to take back her position as the legendary genius from Suyu's hands. But the difference between the two was shocking. Zhong Wan let out a warm smile, as if he had expected this. Deep within Lu Li's cold eyes, there was a rare ripple. It was a ripple of surprise. Suyu's abilities were not as weak as he had expected. Zhou Yinshin was also slightly stunned. Divine grade, divine decree? You? There were not many people who could comprehend the divine decree to its peak in the North Continent. The only person who knew about it was the #1 goddess of the North Continent, Feng Xian. Palace Master Yin Yu had also comprehended his divine decree to the level of divine grade. Furthermore, it was extremely powerful. A normal immortal realm level 3 peak would not be able to withstand it. Zhou Yinshin took a light breath, dispelling the shock in his heart. He let out a mocking smile as he clapped. Not bad, not bad. To be able to block a casual attack from me, not bad. No one doubted his words. That was an attack close to an immortal realm level 4. He had clearly not used his full strength. Why don't you try another attack from me? Zhou Yinshin's eyes flashed with a fierce light. This time, I will use my full strength. Devouring Vortex. Zhou Yinshin created a small vortex again. But this time, he did not create one. It wasn't 10 either, but 100. 100 vortexes close to the attack of an immortal realm level 4. Chapter 365. This was the true power of the devouring whirlpool. There were 100 vortexes, not to mention an immortal level 3. Even an immortal level 4 would fall into a hopeless situation when faced with 100 vortexes. Furthermore, Suyu is only an immortal level 3. How is he going to block an attack that even an immortal realm level 4 would fear with his own abilities? Zhong Wan's expression instantly turned solemn. If I were to face Zhou Yinshin at his peak, the odds of victory would be 40 to 60. However, Zhong Wan did not clearly state who would be the 4th and 6th. Jiang Mufei's scalp turned numb. There was a world of difference between an immortal realm level 3 peak and an immortal realm level 4. In the same realm, she rarely met a worthy opponent, but in Zhou Yinshin's hands, a casual devouring whirlpool was not something she could block. This was the gap between them. However, what Suyu had to face was not just one vortex, nor 10 vortexes, but 100. In such a situation, how could he block it? Inu, do not force yourself. It is not embarrassing to admit defeat now. You still have to participate in the official competition 3 days later. Do not let your emotions affect your decisions and leave behind any injuries, Jiang Mufei kindly reminded him. The spectators felt the frightening power of an immortal realm level 4 and agreed with him. If Su Yu admitted defeat, they would not underestimate him in the slightest. No one had the right to laugh at him for losing to an immortal realm level 4. The corners of Lu Li's mouth curled up in disdain, but her words were dignified. Inu, surrendering is a disgrace to the Empire of Darkness. Let's not talk about whether the Empire of Darkness will let you off. Don't even think about getting past me. The crowd frowned. Was Palace Master Glaze trying to force Inu into a corner? Did he have a life and death feud with Palace Master Inu? In the face of danger, Su Yu did not panic. Instead, he became even calmer. While facing the swirls in the sky, he casually glanced at Lu Li and said, "You are very noisy. Can you shut your mouth?" Mu Tianfan's heart was filled with disgust. She did not even bother to hide the expression on her face as she coldly stared at Lu Li. "I'll warn you one last time. Either you fight or you shut up. If you are unwilling to abide by either option, I'm sorry, but people like you are not welcome in the Phoenix Tower." Lu Li's face was expressionless, but a cold light flashed in the depths of her eyes. However, she obediently shut her mouth and quietly watched the show. You still have the mood to look at outsiders? Really doesn't know life from death. Zhou Yinshin snorted coldly, raising his palm and slapping towards the air. All of a sudden, the vortexes in the sky seemed to have received an order, and they engulfed Su Yu like a thunderstorm, intending to tear him into mincemeat. Everyone's hearts were in their throats as they broke out in cold sweat for Su Yu. It was still not too late to admit defeat, but once Zhou Yinshin lost control, it would be too late. However, Su Yu was calm and composed. Shua, with a flash of silver light, a silver bow appeared in his empty hand. In many people's eyes, Su Yu's control over space had reached an unimaginable level, which was why he was able to hide such a large object. No one knew that he had an extremely precious universe mirror in his bosom. "The mountain river dragon bow," Jiang Mufei exclaimed. Her two big eyes were filled with jealousy and a deep desire. Zhongwan couldn't help but reveal some envy. He smiled bitterly and said, "What a lucky fellow. He actually obtained a mid-grade divine weapon from on U.S. City. The Palace Garrison divine artifact, which only the northern continent's superpowers possessed, had appeared in Su Yu's hands." The eyes of the geniuses were engulfed in flames of greed. Many of them were breathing rapidly, their eyes red. Even Zhou Yinshin's pupils constricted. He licked his lips as he stared at the silver bow, his gaze wavering. Lu Li was the only one who did not know about the bow. News of what had happened in On-US City had not reached the Empire of Darkness. However, his intuition told him that the bow was extraordinary. Hiss, hiss. Unbeknownst to anyone, Su Yu's pupils had turned into a sparkling white color. The 100 vortexes, which looked chaotic but were extremely fast, were all in Su Yu's eyes. He pulled back the bowstring, but only pulled it back a little, about an inch. With Su Yu's current level of control over the silver bow, he could pull it back at least 3 inches. However, Su Yu only chose to pull it back by an inch. An illusory spirit energy arrow the size of a thumb was faintly discernible. The threatening glow of the arrow caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Lu Li's indifferent expression turned serious. "This is whoosh." A piercing sound could be heard. The spirit energy arrow pierced through the air, striking a spirit vortex. Creak. The spirit vortex that could swallow everything was pierced by the spirit energy arrow. The vortex was destroyed with a sound. The arrow of spiritual energy also collapsed and disappeared. One arrow destroyed a vortex. The power of the arrow was terrifying. Compared to the tribulation of ice and thunder, the power of the arrow was even stronger. But there were still 99 vortexes. Whoosh! While the crowd was still in shock, another piercing sound could be heard. Creak! A devouring vortex dissipated. Turning their heads to look, they realized it was Su Yu. After shooting the first arrow, he pulled back the bowstring without stopping, shooting the second arrow. His fingers lightly moved, forming an arrow of spirit energy. He then released his fingers and shot again. From shooting the arrow to drawing the bow, to shooting the arrow again, it was a continuous cycle. The middle was done in one go, without any pause. In the blink of an eye, he had shot out 10 arrows of spirit energy. It would have been fine if the crowd was only surprised by such a fast shooting speed. What truly shocked them was Su Yu's archery skills. They were so shocked that their eyeballs almost popped out. Every time Su Yu casually glanced, he would shoot an arrow, and every arrow accurately pierced the devouring vortex. Regardless of the angle, speed, or trajectory, it was as if everything was in front of Su Yu, and he could easily hit them. Such shocking archery skills set off a huge wave in the hearts of the crowd. While they were still in shock, Su Yu had already shot out 40 arrows, destroying 40 vortexes. Zhou Yinshin's confident expression turned serious as he exclaimed in disbelief, Is this the archery skills of a human? No, I cannot let him continue shooting. Zhou Yinshin's heart trembled as he let out a low grunt. Overlapping vortexes. At that moment, the vortexes in the sky began to overlap. Once they overlapped, they fused into one, their power multiplying. Arrows of spirit energy would not be able to pierce through them. Time control. Seal of time. Su Yu's eyes glowed. With time control, in the state of human blood, time flowed 3 times faster. With time seal, the purple dragon entangled the sky above the vortexes, causing time to freeze. The merging of the vortexes temporarily stopped. Both of them only lasted for a breath's time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The densely packed sounds of arrows, like a storm, exploded in that one breath's time. The sounds of the arrows converging on a single point fused, turning into an ear-piercing screech. The entire Phoenix Tower shook, letting out creaking sounds. The sound of the arrows contained an unparalleled glow. It pierced through the clouds, heading straight for the sun and moon in the sky. Half of the Phoenix Fort was shaken by the sound of the arrows. At that moment, everyone was shocked. Within a 1-mile radius, all living beings felt a piercing pain in their ears. Those who were closer felt a piercing pain on their skin. Chapter 366. Shooting 60 arrows consecutively. The overlapping sound of the arrows was already so terrifying. Then, how powerful would the overlapping sound of the arrows be? Su Yu's mind lit up, a spark flashing past. Creak, creak. In the sky, the sound of destruction could be heard for a brief moment. The remaining 60 vortexes were all destroyed. In a short moment, all 60 vortexes had been destroyed. The full moon stage was dead silent. The crowd looked at Su Yu, all of them fearful. An attack from Immortal Realm Level 4 had been taken head-on. Just how strong was Palace Master Inu? Lu Li's expression turned rigid, his gaze fixed on Su Yu's silver bow, unable to look away. He had successfully blocked Zhou Yinshin's attack. Zhou Yinshin's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. He could not believe that his full power attack was unable to defeat an Immortal Realm Level 3 kid. Su Yu stood at his original position, not moving an inch. The wind blew against his clothes, messing up his silver hair. However, it was unable to cause a ripple on his calm face. I have already let you have 2 moves. Now it is my turn, right? Su Yu's voice was calm, without joy or sorrow. No one could tell if he was happy or angry. The crowd shuddered, realizing that Su Yu had not taken the initiative to attack. He had been defending. Both attacks had been the same. Unknowingly, Su Yu had let his opponent have 2 moves. Zhou Yinshin no longer looked down on Su Yu. He stared at Su Yu's silver bow, extremely fearful. That bow was too frightening. Being able to block my attack does not mean that you have the ability to fight me. Zhou Yinshin scolded, spirit energy surging around his body, forming a swirling vortex that protected his body. The devouring vortex had switched from offense to defense. Is that so? Su Yu's expression was indifferent, pulling back the bow and aiming at Zhou Yinshin's chest. Whoosh, pull back the bow, shoot. Whoosh, shoot, pull back the bow, shoot again. Whoosh. Su Yu once again displayed his shocking archery skills. He shot out 10 arrows in one breath, each arrow connected from head to tail. It was 10 arrows linked. 10 arrows of spirit energy formed a straight line, shooting toward the same spot on Zhou Yinshan's chest. Creak. The first arrow of spirit energy was swallowed a zhang into it. However, a ripple was created in the vortex of spiritual energy. Without waiting for the ripple to recover, the second arrow of spirit energy entered the ripple. Puchi, the arrow of spiritual energy, was annihilated, but it pierced through the ripples by a foot. Before the hole was fully covered, the third arrow of spiritual energy shot over. Puchi, this time, it pierced through 3 feet. Puchi, 5 feet. Puchi, just like that, the 10 arrows followed the same trajectory and actually broke through the absolute defense of the devouring vortex. Until the last arrow, boom, the spiritual energy arrow pierced through his defenses and struck Zhou Yinshan's chest. The powerful force caused his chest to explode and penetrate into his flesh. He was pushed back 9 steps by the powerful force and crashed into the railing. A trickle of blood flowed from the corner of Zhou Yinshan's mouth. This scene caused everyone to be unable to express their emotions in words. Suyu had won. An Immortal Realm Level 3 had actually won against an Immortal Realm Level 4. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they would absolutely find it hard to believe that such a heaven-defying thing could happen. Although this arrow didn't pierce through Zhou Yinshan, only slightly injuring him, in terms of exchanging pointers, it was already a victory. Creak. However, Suyu had no intention of stopping, and he pulled the bowstring once again. Zhou Yinshan's expression turned grave, embarrassed, and furious. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Whoosh! At this moment, Mu Tianfang flew between the two of them. The Bright Moon Banquet is not a place for you to fight. Mu Tianfang's expression was solemn. Muttering to himself, Suyu kept his silver bow. This was the Phoenix Fort, after all. He naturally had to show respect. Zhou Yinshan's nostrils flared, too ashamed to remain there. He flicked his sleeves and left. Humph. Inu, we will fight again in 3 days. Whoosh. Turning into an afterimage, Zhou Yinshan disappeared into the sky. Is there anyone else who wishes to fight? Mu Tianfang raised Feng Xian's handkerchief. The entire place was silent. Having seen Suyu's abilities, who dared to provoke him? Suyu stood in the middle with his hands behind his back, his gaze fixed on Lu Li. I have disappointed you. I did not create a chance for you to show off. If you feel that this is not enough, you can step forward and fight me. That way, you might still have a chance to show off. Before the fight, Lu Li was eccentric, certain that Suyu would definitely lose. He wanted Suyu to persevere until the end, so that he could help the Empire of Darkness regain its honor. Unfortunately, Suyu did not lose. Instead, he won. Lu Li's expression was cold. I am not interested in the handkerchief. Furthermore, your abilities are only at this level. You are not worthy of me fighting. Winning against Zhou Yinshan is nothing. He was defeated by me long ago. You are not worthy of me fighting. Lu Li was extremely confident. What he said was the truth. Zhou Yinshan had indeed been defeated by him. Suyu sneered. Are you still feeling good about yourself now that things have come to this? If you win against Zhou Yinshan, you will be high and mighty. If I win against him, it is nothing. Why? Is there a difference between the Zhou Yinshan you beat and the Zhou Yinshan I beat? Lu Li slowly stood up, indifferently shaking his head. You do not understand my realm. Sure, can't we decide who is stronger if we fight here? Or are you afraid of losing and unwilling to fight? Suyu said. To his surprise, Lu Li ignored Suyu, summoning the blue illusion eagle and leaping onto its back. After flying to a high altitude, he looked down on Suyu, coldly shaking his head. You are not worthy of me fighting. Whoosh! After saying this, he flew away from the full moon stage in a domineering manner. Even though the geniuses were unhappy with Lu Li's arrogance, no one felt that he was escaping, because Lu Li was indeed abnormally strong. It was rumored that Zhou Yinshan could not even take 3 moves from Lu Li. The two of them were not on the same level. Only Suyu could understand Lu Li's intentions. It was not that he did not want to fight, but that he did not want to fight. If Suyu was still a weak fighter in his eyes, he would have taught him a lesson long ago to show off his might and gain glory. But he realized that Suyu's archery was godly and was a little troublesome. He did not want to waste his energy before the Phoenix meet and take the risk of getting injured. Thus, he left proudly. If no one wants to fight, this handkerchief belongs to Suyu. Mu Tianfang smiled, stuffing the handkerchief into Suyu's hands, mysteriously saying, "You have to treasure it. This handkerchief has a hidden meaning." When the handkerchief entered his hands, a holy feeling, accompanied by the fragrance of a lady, assaulted his senses. Suyu seemed to have seen Siener, smiling and waving at him. It had been a few years since they last met, and he wondered if Siener had grown up. Carefully keeping the handkerchief, Suyu returned to the table, continuing to exchange cultivation experiences with Zhongwan and the rest. "Inyu, your level of comprehension is really shocking," Zhongwan exclaimed. "To be able to cultivate your divine decree to the divine grade, in my memory, among those of the same generation. Only Feng Xian can do so, but it seems that your divine decree is lacking something." Zhongwan had a thoughtful expression. Suyu was shocked. His divine decree had encountered an unprecedented bottleneck. Chapter 367. Who would have thought that Zhongwan would be able to detect some clues? "Brother Zhongwan, please enlighten me," Suyu said earnestly. Zhongwan waved his hand and said with a humble smile, "I gave up on my divine decree after comprehending it to the saint heavenly sovereign realm. How can I guide you? However, I was fortunate enough to witness an immortal level 5 powerful fighter releasing a divine grade divine decree. As such, I was able to comprehend it. An immortal level 5 fighter who had comprehended a divine grade divine decree?" So he was secretly shocked. Could it be that the strong martial artist also knew that the divine decree was the path to becoming a god? Your divine decree is filled with the concept of nature. However, that's all. Nothing of your own has been integrated into it. So you sank into deep thought. Something that belongs to me? Recalling the process of his comprehension, Suyu realized that his divine decree seemed to have fused with nature, borrowing the power of ice and thunder from nature. However, he had never thought of fusing it with his own. But what do I need to integrate into myself? If you really want to have a breakthrough, you must make a trip to the Phoenix Cabinet. There is a mysterious pavilion there called the Forgotten Pavilion. Sitting in it, you can forget about the mundane world and merge with the heavenly Tao. Using this opportunity, you can discover what is missing in your divine decree. Forgotten Pavilion? Suyu nodded. "Thank you, Brother Zhongwan, for telling me." The moon was in the middle of the sky, and the night was deep. All the geniuses returned from their fruitful journey. "Inyu, you stay." Mu Tianfang stopped Suyu. Suyu was at a loss, but Zhongwan shot him a meaningful smile. Even Jiang Mufei's face turned red, and she said, "Don't be dazzled by the choices." Moments later, Suyu was the only one left in the building. "I'll bring you to a place," Mu Tianfang said mysteriously. Suyu was stunned. "Where?" "Phoenix Cabinet," Mu Tianfang said with a smile. Suyu was puzzled. "Why are we going there?" Mu Tianfang's face turned slightly red. "That is your reward. The victors of the previous Bright Moon banquets have all received such treatment. There's no need to ask. You'll know once you get there. I guarantee it's a good thing." So you rub his nose. Is this a good thing? Thinking back to Zhongwan and Jiang Mufei's strange expressions and words before they left, he had a bad feeling. An hour later, after passing through layers of tight security, they successfully entered the depths of the Phoenix Cabinet. They stopped in front of a luxurious loft. 12 pure and beautiful 16-year-old female disciples were sitting quietly in the pavilion. Some were cute and playful. Some were valiant and heroic. Some were delicate and handsome. Some were elegant and refined. The 12 women were all extremely beautiful, and their ages were similar to Suyu's. Not only were they extremely beautiful, but their temperaments were also different. They had everything you could think of. With so many beautiful women gathered together, it was truly a feast for the eyes. When the 12 girls looked at Suyu, their faces became slightly flushed, and they were bashful. They whispered to each other, while their beautiful eyes flickered. The 12 of them are the best candidates for the next generation of the Phoenix deity. Their talents and appearances are all of the best. As the strongest person in the Bright Moon Banquet, you have the right to choose a person before the Phoenix meet. I wonder who you have your eyes on? Mu Tianfang said. Suyu was slightly stunned. Was this matchmaking for him in advance? You don't have to worry about their attitude. They're only 16 years old, so they don't have the chance to participate in a blind date. The next round will be 10 years later. By then, they'll already be 26 years old. To be able to find an outstanding husband at the age of 16 is exactly what they want. Furthermore, you are indeed extremely outstanding. The legendary genius of the North Continent, 17 years old, handsome, and otherworldly. All of you are the best of the best, and they can't ask for anything more. You can be at ease and choose boldly. Hearing this, the 12 beauties became even more embarrassed. Apart from 2 courageous ones, no one dared to raise their heads to look at Suyu. However, Suyu sighed softly. Is Leader Mu testing me? You know that I'm already engaged. No wonder Zhong Luan and the rest had such ambiguous expressions. Leader Mu sighed. I'm doing this for your own good. You really have no chance of being together with the Phoenix deity. You can settle for the next best thing and choose one from here. Thank you for your kind intentions, but I don't have the habit of giving my fiancé away, Suyu calmly said. Leader Mu sighed, hesitating. Inu, there are some things I don't want to hide from you. Do you really understand your fiancé? What do you mean? Suyu raised his brows. Leader Mu hesitated. I heard that Palace Master Shin Kong is interested in Phoenix deity, and Phoenix deity seems to be in love with Palace Master Shin Kong as well. The 2 of them were chatting happily and harmoniously. Some female disciples saw them, hugging each other. Leader Mu felt that this reality was too cruel for Suyu. He had come from far away, but all he had gotten was the betrayal of his fiancée. Rumble, a bolt of lightning shook the heavens. So you could no longer tell if it was the lightning in reality or the tremors in his mind. His body froze on the spot, his eyes dazed. He was like a puppet. The reality before him was too shocking. He had never thought that Sienna would betray him. That cute, petite, lonely Sienna, who would not marry anyone but him, had actually thrown herself into someone else's embrace. He had experienced many hardships, chasing Sienna from Shanyue Island to the Jinlong continent. He had only seen Sienna once, and the next time he saw her, she had already fallen in love with someone else. Such a blow caused Suyu's heart to be in turmoil, unable to calm down for a long time. Logic told him that Sienna was not that kind of girl. But the cruel truth was that Sienna had fallen in love with someone else. Could it be that he had not been by her side for a long time, that Sienna had forgotten about her feelings, about the marriage, and about the promise she had made? Could it be that Sienna's mind had gradually matured, and she had seen the prosperity of the world, the limitless future, and had abandoned the past? How was this different from the past Jiang Xueqing? Was he going to face the betrayal of the person he loved again? Was Feng Xian really Sienna? A person's appearance could change, but could their heart change so much as well? I want to see Sienna. Suyu said. Mu Tianfang sighed. Now that things have come to this, it would be better not to see her. Why are you so stubborn? Suyu acted as if he had not heard her. I just want to know if I can see her now. After a moment of silence, Mu Tianfang said helplessly, Feng Xian does not meet outsiders easily. But you are an exception. Whoosh! Mu Tianfang took out a handkerchief from Suyu's robes. This is your privilege. This handkerchief is your privilege to meet Feng Xian. This is the privilege of this Bright Moon Banquet's king. Write your words on it, and someone will convey it to her. But whether she is willing to meet you depends on her will. If she is unwilling, you cannot go against her will. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suyu wrote a simple line of words. I will wait for you, Sienna, your fiancé. Mu Tianfang nodded, helplessly sending the handkerchief out. All right, all of you can return. Leave this place for Feng Xian and Inu. Mu Tianfang took the 12 beauties with her. Only Suyu was left in the pavilion. At this moment, Suyu felt a rare sense of nervousness. He had never felt such a fear of losing Sienna. In no time, footsteps could be heard from behind him. Suyu turned his head. It was a handsome man. Yes, extremely handsome. In fact, he was as handsome as a woman. He had bright eyes and white teeth. He wore a crown on his jade-like face, and his wide sleeves fluttered in the wind. He was like a bright moon, exuding absolute temptation. Even Suyu found it difficult to compete with him in terms of appearance. And his cultivation level was far above Suyu's. His cultivation level was deep and unfathomable. He was even more frightening than Inspector Bai He at his peak. He was just below Ling Xiaotian. In his hands, Suyu might not even have the chance to fight. Are you the one who wishes to see Siener? The young man was elegant and calm. Suyu's gaze turned serious. Yes, and who are you? Shen Kong, Siener's fiancé. He was Palace Master Shen Kong, the only Vice Palace Master that Suyu had never met. The strongest Vice Palace Master in the North Continent. His abilities just below Ling Xiaoyan's. Suyu's pupils dilated. He was the person that Siener had fallen for. He could not deny that Shen Kong was too outstanding. In the entire North Continent, no one could surpass him. You are Siener's fiancé? Even though I do not know why you call yourself that, unfortunately, he does not wish to see you. Shen Kong calmly passed on Siener's words. Suyu froze on the spot. Siener was not even willing to see him? Otherwise, why would she send someone she liked to pass on the message? Did she wish for Suyu to give up? Also, Shen Kong turned to leave, turning his head back. Do not disturb Siener again. No one can save you. With a flick of his finger, the pavilion that Suyu was in silently turned into dust. Suyu stood there, clenching his fists tightly. He had snatched his woman and even warned him not to disturb him. Fury, jealousy, and dissatisfaction filled his heart. Suyu felt as if his soul had been hollowed out. The pillar of support that he had relied on, the goal that he had worked so hard for, had suddenly collapsed. This caused him to be furious and at a loss, like a puppet with no home to return to. He stood blankly in the ruins. The moonlight was cold and clear, the wind blowing. But Suyu was like a wooden man, standing there until dawn. His dry eyes were bloodshot, losing his usual elegance. Leader Mu, how can I see Siener? Suyu turned his head, looking toward a corner of the yard. Whoosh! A person's robes fluttered in the wind as a figure appeared from the corner of the wall. It was Mu Tianfong, who had silently accompanied Suyu for the entire night. You still do not want to give up? Mu Tianfong sighed. Suyu shook his head, his dry eyes filled with confusion. With Siener's personality, even if her mood changed, she would not be so heartless. Is Feng Xian really the Siener I am looking for? Suyu pondered for a long time during the night. After calming down, he realized that there were many doubts. This doubt was the one that Suyu could not let go of. Siener was pure and kind. Even if her mood changed and she fell in love with someone else, how could she be so cold and heartless? This was not like her. But other than Feng Xian, was there a second Siener in the Phoenix cabinet? Just what was going on? He could only verify it with his own eyes and meet Feng Xian. Mu Tianfong sighed helplessly. Unless I get first place in the Phoenix meet, then I will be able to meet Feng Xian. She will not be able to reject me. Other than that, there is no other way. Suyu lifted his feet, stepping out of the ruins. His eyes were burning with an unprecedentedly fierce flame. Then I will get first place. I will kill whoever blocks me, even if I have to kill all the geniuses of the Northern Continent. Chapter 368. Mu Tianfong was slightly shocked. He swore to slaughter all the geniuses of the Northern Continent for a woman. He was so obsessed with Feng Xian. All right, I hope you succeed. Mu Tianfong sighed softly. After hesitating for a while, Mu Tianfong said apologetically, I'm very sorry. I wanted to give you a surprise, but I brought you trouble instead. Suyu's expression was calm as he shook his head and consoled her. It has nothing to do with you. You'll have to face it eventually. In the end, he still believed in Xian. Everything could be discussed after meeting her. Inyu, let me bring you to a place. It might be useful for your training, Mu Tianfong said reluctantly after hesitating for a long time. Suyu smiled and declined tactfully. Thank you for your kindness. I appreciate it. She had brought Suyu to choose a woman because she hoped that Suyu could forget the pain of Siener's betrayal. Seeing that Suyu was sad, she decided to help him again. She was indeed a good girl with a cold face, but a warm heart. Shaking her head slightly, Mu Tianfang said, "Don't refuse. Consider a little bit of support from me. I hope that you can successfully meet Feng Xian and make things clear in person." He was touched and had a good impression of her. "I will remember Commander Mu's favor." Suyu bowed gratefully and gladly accepted it. Mu Tianfang pursed her lips and smiled. Her delicate face was like a white lotus in the morning, beautiful beyond compare. After 10 minutes, a deserted courtyard, broken fences, dilapidated walls, luxuriant weeds, and mottled traces of time covered the earth. The dazzling interior of the Phoenix Cabinet was so desolate and dilapidated, forming a stark contrast. This place is an ancient ruin. It was preserved by the first pavilion master for later generations to use for cultivation. Commander Mu stared at the ruins, awe in his eyes. Following Mu Tianfang's footsteps, Suyu stepped into the abandoned yard. There was a small bridge over a flowing river, a green willow tree shade, clear spring water, and a misty, immortal mist. It was like a paradise in the mortal world. The ancient aura added to its mysteriousness. It was as if they had inadvertently entered a land of immortals. After passing through the dense fog, Suyu's gaze landed on the center of the lake, where a simple and unadorned pavilion sat quietly on the surface of the lake. He was like a lonely and proud immortal, far away from the mortal world, isolated in the middle of the still water. All of a sudden, Suyu's pupils shrank as he fixed his gaze on the board. A piece of rotten, damp, yellowed wood hung from the pavilion, teetering on the verge of collapse. However, Suyu's gaze could not move away from the board. Forgotten Pavilion. Zhong Wan had mentioned the important place of the Phoenix Cabinet, the Forgotten Pavilion. By comprehending here, one could comprehend the great Tao, thoroughly understand oneself, cleanse one's soul, and clearly see the past and future. In Suyu's eyes, the moment he saw those 3 words, his mind was at peace. All the complicated matters were eliminated, and his mind was as light as a swallow. For a moment, the mountains were empty, the lake was quiet, and time was silent. It was as if Suyu was the only one left in the world, facing the pavilion alone. "Go in. I'll give this opportunity to you. I hope you'll be able to make a breakthrough." Mu Tianfang's eyes were filled with reluctance. The Forgotten Pavilion was only open to Immortal Realm Level 3 disciples, and each person only had a chance to enter it once every half a year. Since she had given this opportunity to Suyu, she had lost the right to enter. Suyu was so immersed in it that he lost his ability to think. He strode into the pavilion. Stepping into the pavilion, Suyu's soul was bathed in the clear spirit radiance. His mind was far away, as if he had entered the distant starry sky, chasing after the great way of the heavens that lay beyond the endless 9 heavens. The world was void, and the chaos was endless. Suyu was soaring in the endless world. Unrestrained and unrestrained, he wandered in the boundless deep sea. Wasn't that indescribably comfortable feeling similar to the first time he comprehended the divine decree? Is this the great way? But why is it void? Suyu's mind was filled with questions. The great way of the heavens gathered the logic of the world, and it could clearly see the human heart. Why was Suyu not feeling anything other than wanton and free? Suyu sank into deep thought. Dust fell onto Suyu's body. A cool breeze blew his long hair. Birds flew above his head. Darkness and dawn alternated in front of the lake. The light of the rising sun shone on his body, but his eyes did not blink. He sank into deep thought, thinking about the void, great way of the heavens. Who are you? Sneaking into the Phoenix Cabinet and coveting the supreme, great way? Suddenly, a sharp rebuke pulled Suyu back to reality from the void. The lingering state in his mind suddenly dissipated. Is it over? But it seems like I still did not get what I wanted. Suyu sighed. Slowly getting up, Suyu left the pavilion, his heart filled with reluctance. I'm asking you a question. Who are you? The lady who shouted stood by the shore, her expression unfriendly. She wore a long black gown and had an oval face. She should have had a gentle and beautiful appearance, but because of her harsh words, she seemed unreasonable. Whoosh! Suddenly, Mu Tianfang hurried over from outside the yard, her hands holding a few spiritual fruits that she had prepared for Su Yu. "Greetings, Phoenix Lady Yuling." Mu Tianfang's expression was solemn, kneeling on one knee and kowtowing respectfully. The lady in the long black gown was the second-ranked Phoenix Lady of the Phoenix Cabinet, Yuling. Her abilities were only below the number 1 Phoenix Lady, Feng Xian. Immortal Realm Level 4 lower tier. "Leader Mu, give me an explanation." Yuling's expression was unfriendly, but she did not explode. After all, Mu Tianfang was the cabinet master's unofficial disciple. She had to give her some face. Mu Tianfang stood up, her expression apologetic. "Reporting to Phoenix Lady Yuling, he is Palace Master Inu, the victor of the Bright Moon Banquet sparring. I will transfer the right to enter the Forgotten Pavilion to him. Please forgive me for disturbing Phoenix Lady Yuling." Phoenix Lady Yuling had a stern expression as she scolded. "Nonsense. The Phoenix Cabinet is a holy place. Men do not stay overnight. You have tarnished the reputation of the Phoenix Cabinet by keeping him here." Mu Tianfang let out a bitter laugh, bowing. "Yes, Phoenix Lady Yuling is right. I did not consider this thoroughly. It's not just inconsiderate. As the commander, you should set an example for yourself. Breaking the law, while knowing the law, is even more of a crime. I will report this to the pavilion master and punish you." Yuling seemed to be an exceptionally inflexible person. Mu Tianfang could only silently endure. "Go back and face the wall immediately." Yuling's tone was strict. After hesitating for a moment, Mu Tianfang was a little displeased. The Phoenix Lady was ultimately a disciple of the Phoenix Cabinet and did not manage it. However, as the second Phoenix Lady, her status was higher. Hence, she was polite and allowed Yuling to criticize her. But ordering her to face the wall and giving her a punishment was not something that Yuling had the authority to do. "I know my mistake and will ask for forgiveness from the cabinet master." Mu Tianfang was neither servile nor overbearing. Yuling's eyes narrowed. "You have no remorse?" So you looked on coldly. Mu Tianfang gave in again and again, but Yuling was overbearing. "This Phoenix Lady, if you want to punish her, why don't you punish Palace Master Shin Kong as well? Who made Palace Master Shin Kong stay in the Phoenix Cabinet last night?" So you said. Yuling's expression froze for a moment, then returned to her cold expression in an instant, as if she did not hear Su Yu's words. Instead of replying, she said, "I did not ask you to speak. Shut your mouth." Su Yu sneered. "I thought that you were so strict because you were old-fashioned. It turns out that you are just someone who bullies the weak and fears the strong. Feng Xian, you do not dare to offend her. Yet, here you are, abusing your official position for personal gain and making things difficult for a commander." Su Yu walked over and shielded Mu Tianfang behind him. "I am the winner of the competition at the Bright Moon Banquet. According to the rules, I was invited to the Phoenix Cabinet. What is wrong with that?" Instead, Palace Master Shin Kong suddenly appeared in the Phoenix Cabinet. "Instead of reporting Feng Xian, you purposely created trouble for Commander Mu?" Yuling's expression turned slightly grave. She ignored Su Yu and glared at Mu Tianfang. "Mu Tianfang, don't think that you can be unbridled just because you are the cabinet master's unofficial disciple. Colluding with outsiders to bully me in the Phoenix Cabinet? I won't let this matter rest just like this." What sophistry! It was clear that she had intentionally targeted Mu Tianfang the moment she arrived. How could she say that they were bullying her? She was in the wrong, so she retorted and accused them of bullying her. Chapter 369. Mu Tianfang bit her lips slightly and pulled Su Yu away silently. "That's just her personality. You don't have to take it to heart," Mu Tianfang consoled. Su Yu's expression was calm. Making things difficult for others to satisfy his own sense of accomplishment. Why should I care about such a person? That's good. What do you plan to do next? Mu Tianfang asked. The concept of the Forgotten Pavilion still remained in Su Yu's mind. Find a place to comprehend for 3 days and wait for the Phoenix meet. Why not stay in the Phoenix Cabinet? After comprehending it, you can directly participate in the competition. Su Yu cupped his fists. Thank you, Leader Mu. Smiling sweetly, Leader Mu led Su Yu to a secluded corner of the Phoenix Cabinet. This was an abandoned herb garden, desolate and silent. This place is quiet. No one will come here for several months. You can rest assured and comprehend. Mu Tianfang pursed her lips and smiled. I can only help you this much. 3 days later, it will depend on your luck. So you thank her again and again. After she left, he flew up into the sky and observed his surroundings. Activating his crystalline pupils, he could see everything around him. There were indeed no signs of human habitation within 3 miles of the herb garden. Wait a minute. All of a sudden, Su Yu's pupils contracted as he saw a person 5 miles away. He was dressed in a red robe and looked dignified. The U.S. City Master, Clan Master. Su Yu was shocked. The U.S. City encountered a beast tide and was occupied by a powerful demonic sovereign. The U.S. City Lord fled in despair. However, why would he appear in the Phoenix Cabinet? At that moment, he was sneakily leaving the Phoenix Cabinet. Su Yu's pupils shone with a cold light. In U.S. City, he schemed and plotted, pressuring Su Yu at every turn. In the end, he killed Su Yu without concealing it, causing Su Yu to be in danger. How could he forget this debt? Suppressing his impulse, Su Yu looked in the direction in which he had left. After making sure that no one would disturb him, Su Yu sat quietly in the herb garden and started to comprehend. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. Su Yu immersed himself in it and continued to comprehend it. That uncertain Tao became clearer and clearer, existing in his heart. It was as if he could grab it at any moment, but it was also ethereal and untraceable. A cool breeze blew past, blowing away a strand of silver hair on Su Yu's forehead. 2 deep and clear eyes slowly opened, and an indescribable feeling flowed in them. It was as if those eyes were the starry sky, the vast ocean, the source that contained all things in the world. Su Yu murmured softly, "In the end, I'm still a little short." After comprehending for 3 days, he seemed to have understood what the divine decree was lacking. But at the same time, he seemed to have understood nothing. I need an opportunity. He sighed softly, leaving only the medicine garden. There was no one left in the place. Only Su Yu's gradually dissipating afterimage remained. Phoenix Stage. The arena where the disciples of the Phoenix Cabinet were sparring could accommodate 10,000 spectators. At this moment, the place was packed with people. All kinds of young women filled the seats. They all had different expressions as they sized up the 100 handsome young men beside the arena. These 100 people were the most outstanding people in the Northern Continent. They represented the Northern Continent's new generation of heaven's favorites and displayed their prowess on the Phoenix Stage. They expressed their love for the female disciples they admired and promised to marry them. Whether it was a blind date or a spar, it was of great significance. Mu Tianfang maintained order, standing high in the sky and observing the situation. Leader Mu, the talents of this generation far surpass those of the previous generation. The Snow Listening Tower has the first young Master Wei Qilin and second young Master Zhou Yinchen. The 100 Territories Alliance has Sword Demon Zhongluan and Peach Blossom Rain Jiang Mufei. The Empire of Darkness has Palace Master Shin Kong, Palace Master Lu Li, and Palace Master Inu. They're all dragons and phoenixes that are hard to come by in decades. Beside her, there was a woman with a smile on her face, especially Palace Master Shin Kong. He is an undefeatable legend in the Northern Continent. The female disciple's eyes glowed. Mu Tianfang scanned the crowd. At this moment, a silver-haired figure walked into the arena alone, her eyes lighting up. It is said that Palace Master Shin Kong only uses one move. No matter how strong or weak he is, he defeats his opponent with one move. Mu Tianfang's expression as she stared at Su Yu suddenly tensed. As the disciple of the Cabinet Master, she knew the inside story of the battle 6 days ago. The 2 Palace Masters of the Empire of Darkness and the 2 great sons of the Snow Listening Tower. Shin Kong's battle had shocked the world. It was not without reason that the Phoenix Cabinet Master betrothed Feng Xian on the spot. This Shin Kong was too frightening. Inu, it would depend on your luck. Mu Tianfang sighed, her eyes filled with sympathy. Suyu arrived. With his silver hair and silver face, he was especially eye-catching. Is that Palace Master Inu? The legendary genius of the northern continent? He is really a dragon among men. He's a genius, handsome, and has an extraordinary bearing. At this moment, a cold wind swept past, whistling through the clouds. Look, it's the blue illusion eagle. Luli has arrived. Among the female disciples, there was an excited shriek. Their attention quickly shifted from Suyu to the sky, to the cold Luli on the blue illusion eagle. A young lady's face was flushed, her eyes filled with admiration. Luli, I can actually see Luli with my own eyes. Even though Suyu is a genius, he cannot catch up to Luli's footsteps. Even a genius would be in vain. A slightly older lady muttered as she looked at Luli. Luli let go of the blue illusion eagle, stepping on the air and landing beside the arena. His elegant figure once again incited a series of screams. Under the gazes of countless women, he stood silently below the arena, not far from Suyu. However, the focus of the two could not be compared to each other. Hihi, are you jealous? Jiang Mufei suddenly moved her head over, revealing a cute and crafty smile. Suyu smiled, silently shaking his head. Mufei, don't be rude. Zhongwan walked over with a smile. Inu became famous too late. Such a comparison is unfair to him. If Inu had been born a year earlier, with him around, Luli would not be known. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. Humph, shameless words. How can he be compared to Luli? A familiar voice floated past Suyu's ears. Suyu turned his head to look. The person speaking was none other than Phoenix Lady Yuling. She had an oval face, her eyes filled with arrogance as she sneered at Zhongwan. Zhongwan was not concerned. Different people have different views. Phoenix Lady Yuling, why do you care? I'm only reminding you to watch your words. There are many admirers of Lu Li in the Phoenix Cabinet. I do not wish for chaos to arise because of your slip of the tongue. Upon closer inspection, he realized that there were indeed a few female disciples of the Phoenix Cabinet with unfriendly expressions. Zhongwan's words belittling Lu Li had displeased the admirers. Thank you, Phoenix Lady Yuling, for the reminder. My apologies. Zhongwan smiled as usual. Yuling let out a light grunt, turning to leave. When she passed Suyu, her eyes were filled with disgust. Why is it always you? Don't give me trouble. After saying this, she strode forward. Wait. Suyu called out to her, his expression displeased. What is the meaning of your strange warning? Have I broken any of the rules of the Phoenix Cabinet? Yuling stopped in her tracks, turning back with disdain. You did not break any rules. It was me. As the Phoenix Lady, I am responsible for the safety of the cabinet. Warning you is part of my job. Suyu laughed and shook his head. This is a patrol envoy, a matter under Leader Mu's jurisdiction. Is there a need for a Phoenix Lady like you to interfere? Why are the other Phoenix Ladies not taking action, but you are the one causing trouble? If you have the time, why don't you cultivate in peace? Suyu could not understand this strange woman. Yuling turned back with a cold expression. Whether I care or not is not up to an outsider like you to interfere. If you have the energy, prepare for a spar. Yuling used Suyu's words to mock him, taking a step to leave. However, she suddenly added, also, you had better pray that you do not meet me. I can tell you clearly that I loathe you. After saying this, she walked through the crowd arrogantly. Suyu froze. She's going to the arena? Why? Is she afraid that she won't be able to marry, so she is personally fighting for a man? Puffed. Jiang Mufei covered her mouth and laughed. How is that possible? Yuling has many admirers, second only to Feng Xian. Why would she need to fight for a man? This is the rule of the Phoenix Cabinet. To prevent youths from passing themselves off as real, the Phoenix Cabinet will send a female disciple to test everyone's abilities. So that was the reason. Suyu looked at Yuling's back, displeased. Same for you. You had better not meet me. At that moment, the restless crowd suddenly quietened. Roar. A low and loud roar, like a sudden clap of thunder. Suyu's body trembled. He turned back to look, his eyes narrowing. At the entrance, a big white tiger was slowly walking in. It walked with its head held high, arrogant and reckless. A pair of intelligent eyes filled with the arrogance of a human. It raised its head high as it walked into the phoenix stage. Suyu stared at the bright, lightning mark on the white tiger's forehead. It's him, the immortal-grade white tiger that guarded the ice and fire plants in the ancient Xianyan temple. Suyu recognized it immediately. That day at the ancient Xianyan temple, this white tiger had nearly forced Suyu to his death. At that time, Suyu was only at the Holy King realm, but the white tiger was at the dragon realm. If not for the little fire phoenix, Suyu would not have survived. Suyu's gaze turned, looking at the short-haired youth sitting on the back of the white tiger. His gaze was cold, filled with ferocity. A knife scar ran across half of his face. His upper body was bare, and the image of bullying was carved on it. The image was vivid and lifelike. A man and a tiger, in the silence, walked into the arena with a wild and arrogant attitude. After a long time, whispers could be heard from the crowd. The first son of the Snow Listening Tower, Wei Qilin. It is rumored that his abilities are among the top 3 of his generation in the North Continent. He is a true genius. Wei Qilin. Was it him? Suyu sized him up. He did not know why, but this person gave him a dangerous feeling. Is everyone here? Leader Mu raised her voice to ask. We are still missing one person. A hoarse voice reverberated throughout the arena. Leader Mu looked over, her face filled with respect. Mr. Wei, Mr. Zhou Yinshan, why are you not here yet? I'm not talking about this piece of trash. Unexpectedly, Wei Qilin was extremely cold. The person he was talking about was not Zhou Yinshan, who had yet to appear. Leader Mu was slightly nervous. May I ask whom Mr. Wei is talking about? Wei Qilin stood up from the back of the white tiger, his ferocity shocking the heavens. His cold eyes shot toward the horizon. My only opponent, Shen Kong. It was him. No one would forget him. The number 1 fighter of the North Continent, the king of geniuses. He. A faint and abrupt laugh reverberated throughout the arena. There were tens of thousands of people present, but no one could detect the source of the voice. I have been here for a long time. Up in the sky, among the clouds, a snow-white bridal sedan gently descended like a falling leaf. A pure and holy aura permeated the surroundings, intoxicating everyone. The bridal sedan was like the purest thing in the world, calming everyone. A single-horned white horse followed the bridal sedan, happily galloping among the clouds. It's Feng Xian's snow cloud celestial sedan, and her mount, the single-horned horse. Pure and holy aura. Feng Xian, Xiano? Suyu lifted his head abruptly, his eyes piercing through the clouds, shooting straight toward the snow cloud celestial sedan, as if he wanted to see through it. His heart was thumping, unable to suppress his anticipation. Was Sienna inside? Creak. The snow cloud celestial sedan landed in the arena, and an extremely handsome young man stepped out from within. His aura was noble, his expression tranquil. Most importantly, his abilities were deep and unfathomable. None of the geniuses present could see what level he was at. Palace Master Shen Kong, the true king of geniuses, the most dazzling genius of the North Continent. His appearance, aura, and abilities were all shocking. He was so perfect that he did not look like a mortal, but like a god. The breathing of the entire arena could be heard. Everyone was shocked, excited, and looked up to him. He was the legend of the North Continent, the figure that all the geniuses of the North Continent chased after. He was the strongest genius that the North Continent could not surpass. He was the king. Chapter 370. Shen Kong smiled as he looked around. His grace was exceptional, and his appearance was imposing. All of a sudden, his gaze drifted over to Suyu, and he smiled calmly. Who are you here for? The empty venue was dead silent. The crowd followed Shen Kong's gaze and examined Suyu. Bearing the glare of tens of thousands of gazes, Suyu remained calm. He was neither servile nor overbearing. He looked straight at the snow cloud celestial sedan chair. His gaze was gentle, and his words were short and firm. I came for Xian'er, and only for her alone. Thousands of miles, mountains and rivers. All he wanted was to see Xian. That was all. The pupils of the crowd constricted slightly. 6 days ago, during the blind date, Shun Kong and Feng Xian had already been betrothed to each other for life. With the Phoenix Cabinet's master making the decision, there was no longer any suspense. Now, Shun Kong was merely going through the motions. Feng Xian was a subordinate of Shun Kong. The fact that he walked out of Feng Xian's personal snow cloud celestial sedan chair had already explained everything. It was even to the extent that this wasn't done intentionally by Feng Xian. She used this method to tell the world that she would not marry anyone other than Shun Kong. Suyu had revealed his true intentions in front of everyone, competing with Shun Kong. Everyone was shocked. Is he crazy? He actually fought with Shun Kong over a woman. A female disciple widened her eyes in disbelief. He is only seeking his own humiliation. In a previous Phoenix meet, there has never been a lack of people who are blinded by their own folly. The old female disciple calmly shook her head. Is that so? I feel that the courage to challenge Shun Kong in front of so many people is enough to suppress all the geniuses present. Palace Master Shun Kong smiled faintly and said nonchalantly, "Change to another one. She's not suitable for you." It looked like a suggestion with a smile, but there was no hint of a suggestion in his words. Instead, it sounded like an order. He had forcefully taken Suyu's fiancée, but had ordered Suyu not to take her back. Suyu's expression was as calm as an autumn lake. "Xian'er is my woman." It was only one sentence, but it was domineering, resolute, and sharp. That unrivaled aura, that nonchalant calmness, that arrogance that looked down on Shun Kong deeply shook everyone's heart. In this world, there is actually someone who wanted to go against Shun Kong. Pointless persistence. Shun Kong laughed and shook his head. He lifted his foot and brushed past Suyu. Suyu's figure couldn't be seen in his gentle eyes, nor could he see anyone else. He could only see the sky and the earth. That was arrogance. The only thing that could restrain him was the heavens and earth. The short collision caused the atmosphere to become much more solemn. Actually, Inyu's also a dragon among men. His looks and talent are not inferior to Shun Kong. It's a pity that I was born a few years later. I would never be able to catch up to Shun Kong in this lifetime. Some of the female disciples were moved by Suyu and felt pity for him. At this point, all the young elites of the northern continent had arrived. Once the Phoenix Cabinet's master appeared, all the outstanding youths would be able to choose the female disciple they liked. If there was a disagreement, the victor would be decided by force. The one with the better aptitude would be able to win the beauty. Chirp! Suddenly, an elegant cry of a phoenix resounded in the sky. The four-colored divine light shone from the depths of the Phoenix Cabinet, illuminating the world. Everyone turned to look at him. "Welcome, Pavilion Master." Following this, over 10,000 female disciples knelt down and kowtowed. 10,000 people bowed in unison, their momentum shocking the heavens, the scene magnificent. The young elites also showed respect on their faces, because that divine light was the supreme representative of the Phoenix Cabinet. It was the most dazzling divine light in the North Continent. It represented a person, a peerless expert with peerless elegance. The Phoenix Cabinet's master. Suddenly, the four-color divine light shone brightly. From the depths of the Phoenix Cabinet, a four-colored ball of light slowly rose. The light shone in all directions, overshadowing the light of the sun and the moon. It was as if it was the only one in the world. The glaring divine light was difficult to look at. Suyu narrowed his eyes and revolved his crystalline pupils to barely see through the divine light. That was a dignified and beautiful middle-aged woman. Even though she was over 40 years old, her skin was fair and smooth, her figure tight. If not for the vicissitudes in her eyes that did not lose to the young woman, it would have been impossible to connect the dignified and beautiful woman in front of him to a woman. She wore a four-colored brocade robe, luxurious yet simple, noble yet elegant. Her every movement was dignified and elegant, calm and magnanimous. The moment Suyu saw her, He felt his heart move. What an unrivaled beauty. She was not as beautiful as Xia Jingyu, not as youthful and beautiful as Xian'er, but her dignified and elegant demeanor was rare in the world. Whoosh! The divine light dispersed, leaving only an afterimage. The world regained its clarity. The Phoenix Cabinet's master disappeared, but her voice could be heard from the viewing platform. There are some changes to the rules this year. Everyone, please calm down. So fast. There was no one who wouldn't be shocked. Suyu had not even sensed the slightest bit of her aura before she had teleported to the viewing platform. So powerful. Suyu was secretly shocked. Changes? The geniuses were shocked. We will obey the cabinet master's arrangements. They had come for a matchmaking session, so how would they dare to slight the cabinet master? Then, prepare for battle. The first stage is the elimination round. Among the 100 of you, only the top 100 will have the chance to choose the woman you like. Once you have chosen, you cannot change it. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's voice was gentle, like a spring breeze. All the geniuses were eager to try. This was a battle between the North Continent's geniuses. Even if they did not choose a woman, they would fight with all their might and become famous in the continent. Tianfeng, I'll leave it to you, the Phoenix Cabinet's master ordered. Yes, master. Mu Tianfeng respectfully did as she was told, taking out 150 jade butterflies with colorful phoenixes and numbers carved on them. They were given to every genius present, a total of 150 butterflies. Suyu's number was 150. 10 people to a group, the Phoenix Cabinet's master said. Those who win 2 matches will enter the top 100. The higher your rank is, the more priority you will have in choosing the woman you like. In other words, if they won all the matches in the group stages, they would be able to enter the top 15 and choose the woman they liked. But what if there was more than one person in the top 15? Who would go first? The groups have begun. First group, get ready, Mu Tianfeng instructed. Suyu looked over and saw that Zhongwan was in the first group. Sword Demon Zhongwan, where was his sword? The 100 Territories Alliance was desolate, and it was difficult for Zhongwan's name to be known in the North Continent. Outsiders had no way of knowing his exact abilities or areas of expertise. They only knew that he was called the Sword Demon, but he never carried a sword with him. Suyu watched the matches silently, filled with anticipation. The first match, 100 Territories Alliance's Zhongwan versus 100 Territories Howren Faction's Liu Kang. Liu Kang, Immortal Realm Level 2. Zhongwan went up the stage, his expression warm. He looked Liu Kang up and down, nodding his head in approval. I have heard of your name. Outside of the Xintian Manor, you are the strongest genius of the 100 Territories Alliance. The Xintian Manor accepted all the geniuses of the 100 Territories Alliance, but there were a few geniuses who were unwilling to enter for various reasons. Liu Kang was one of them. Liu Kang had a respectful expression, overwhelmed by the favor. Mr. Zhongwan, you flatter me. In a 100 Territories Alliance, Sword Demon Zhongwan was a legend that all geniuses looked up to. Now that he was battling him, he felt the same way. It is rare for me to meet you. Let me try. Zhongwan smiled. Liu Kang was excited. I have offended Mr. Zhongwan. Please have mercy. Zhongwan stood with his hands behind his back, as if he was looking at a junior, his attitude humble. Go ahead. This is a spar. There is no need to hold back. Taking a light breath, Liu Kang attacked. Great Monument Palm. With a grunt, Liu Kang unleashed an immortal-level technique, Stage 1 Upper Class. Its power was not weak. Zhongwan stood at his original position with his hands behind his back, not retaliating. Pooh! A palm landed on Zhongwan's body. The powerful palm created a powerful energy wave, lifting up a cloud of dust. But Zhongwan did not move an inch. Even his hair and clothes remained the same. It was as if Liu Kang had struck a stone man. The geniuses were secretly shocked. Even an Immortal Realm Level 4 would not feel good after being struck by an Immortal Realm Level 2 without any defense. What was going on with Zhongwan? He was not affected in the slightest. Looking closely, the crowd realized that the surface of Zhongwan's body was surrounded by a transparent air current. Liu Kang's attack was negated by the air current. Its spirit energy protecting the body, someone recognized. as expected of an immortal realm level 4. Just his spirit energy alone is enough to suppress Zhongwan. Su Yu observed, his expression turning serious. Sword demon Zhongwan, what frightening spirit energy. In the eyes of an outsider, Zhongwan was only releasing immortal realm level 4 spirit energy. But Su Yu could clearly sense it. That was only a portion of Zhongwan's spirit energy. There was an even more frightening spirit energy in his body. The portion that was revealed was not even a third of what was hidden. Such dense spirit energy was unnatural for an immortal realm level 4 lower tier. To think that the seemingly gentle Zhongwan had hidden so much. Your technique is powerful, but you are not proficient in using it. You can only unleash 80% of its power. You will improve with more practice, Zhongwan commented. Lu Kang was excited, bowing respectfully. I will remember Mr. Zhongwan's pointers. Then I will send you down. Zhongwan waved his sleeves. A strange scene ensued. Zhongwan was unarmed, but he released a bolt of sword energy, sending Lu Kang down the stage. Where was his sword? There was no suspense in the following battles. Zhongwan only used one move. He released a bolt of sword energy with a wave of his hand, sending his opponent down the stage. No matter if it was an immortal realm level 2 or immortal realm level 3, there were no exceptions. He defeated all of his opponents with one move. There was an insurmountable gap between immortal realm level 4 and immortal realm level 3. The difference was too great. First group, Zhongwan wins all. Second group, get ready. So on and so forth. The competition proceeded in an orderly manner. The battles between immortal realm level 3s were exciting and entertaining. The screams of female disciples could be heard from time to time. But every time they met an immortal realm level 4, it would end quickly, just like the first group. There was no suspense in the overwhelming battles. Su Yu also paid close attention to every immortal realm level 4 fighter. But it was a pity that they only used one move to defeat their opponents. Shen Kong, Wei Qilin, and Lu Li were all the same. Especially Shen Kong. He did not even attack, because no one was willing to fight him. Those who went up the stage all admitted defeat. Shen Kong was invincible. Who could fight him? Last group. It was Su Yu's group's turn. First group, Su Yu of the Empire of Darkness versus Li Shanming of the Snow Listening Tower. Li Shanming was 20 years old, immortal realm level 3. In terms of cultivation level, he was on par with the fourth son, Zhang Shui. But his abilities were slightly weaker. Whoosh, Su Yu and Li Shanming flew onto the stage. Do we still need to fight? Su Yu stood calmly with his hands behind his back. In terms of cultivation level, Su Yu could crush him. Why not? Do you think you are Shen Kong? That you can make me retreat without fighting? Li Shanming took out a weapon from his back. It was a bow, an arrow. Chapter 371. Su Yu did not take out his bow. Instead, he flicked his finger. A speck of purple starlight surrounded by lightning arcs flashed over. Li Shanming didn't even have time to react. He was still holding his bow when the lightning struck his chest and sent him flying out of the arena. There was a scorch mark on his chest. Li Shanming felt a fishy taste in his throat and a sharp pain in his chest. He was defeated in one move. No, to be precise, he didn't even have the strength to fight back. It was rumored that Inu had relied on his bow and arrows to fight evenly with an immortal realm level 4. However, why could he defeat his opponent with one move like an immortal realm level 4? Su Yu walked down the stage indifferently. When he passed by Li Shanming, he shook his head indifferently. It seems like you do not have the ability to make me shoot an arrow. Li Shanming's refusal to accept it was just asking to be humiliated. For a moment, the entire place was filled with clamor. Only an immortal realm level 4 could defeat the enemy with one move, and it happened to Su Yu. He seems to be even more powerful than the rumors say. Such thoughts could be found everywhere. The Phoenix Cabinet's master wore a dignified and elegant face, revealing a smile of approval. Her beautiful eyes, which had always been calm, flickered with a ray of light. The first stage of the immortal level technique is complete, and I'm only a step away from the second stage. He's only 17 years old, yet he has such terrifying comprehension and talent. Captain Mu, who was standing respectfully on the side, smiled in relief. The Phoenix Cabinet's master, who rarely praised others, actually used the word scary twice in a row. In the following battle, Suyu only had one move left. His 9 fingers of imaginary thunder, which had been cultivated to the first level, was only a sliver away from the second level. The elimination round has ended. 5 strong contestants with 10 consecutive victories have emerged. These words were personally announced by the Phoenix Cabinet's master. The 5 of you have the right to choose the female disciple that you like. According to the abilities that you have displayed just now, the ranking is as follows. Shun Kong first, Inyu second, Wei Qilin third, Zhongwan fourth, and Lu Li fifth. The choice would be decided by the Phoenix Cabinet Master herself. If there are no objections, you may begin your selection. Wait. Suddenly, a voice rang out. It was Lu Li. Her cold face was filled with dissatisfaction. I have no objections to Shin Kong being first. Inyu is just a nobody. How can he be ahead of me? As for Zhongwan, his strength is average. What right does he have to be in front of me? 5 people with 10 consecutive victories. But he, who is so famous, was ranked behind Suyu and Zhongwan. Liu Li found it hard to accept such an unimaginable arrangement. This was especially so for Inyu. Not only was he ahead of him, he was even in second place. Such an arrangement was simply absurd. Lu Li did not understand. Mu Tianfang did not understand. Zhongwan did not understand. Wei Qilin did not understand. Even Shun Kong frowned. No one could understand why the Phoenix Cabinet's master would make such an arrangement. What was going on? Suyu's performance just now conformed to the norm, barely displaying the battle power of an immortal realm level 4. Not to mention Wei Qilin. He was far inferior to Lu Li. However, the strange thing was that Suyu was ranked second. Because they are stronger than you. That's all, the Phoenix Cabinet's master said calmly. Lu Li glared at Suyu, unable to bear such a situation. Suyu, whom he had always looked down upon, had actually stepped on his head at such an important occasion. To him, this was a humiliation that could not be erased. In his heart, there was only one person who was stronger than him, Shun Kong. As for the others, he didn't care about them at all. Me? No, Lu Li shouted coldly. Why is he stronger than me? Lu Li rebutted the Phoenix Cabinet's master. Whether a person is strong or weak depends on a fight, not the evaluation of outsiders. These words caused Suyu's lips to form a mocking smile. You have never fought with me, but you say that you are stronger than me. Didn't you rely on your mouth? Why are you emphasizing that strength needs to be proven through a fight? Lu Li gave a disdainful grunt. That is because you do not understand my level. You are not worthy of me fighting you. To this, Suyu smiled indifferently. Put away your pointless vanity. From the start, you have only felt good about yourself, thinking that I am weaker than you. Lu Li's nostrils flared, ignoring Suyu's words and looking toward the Phoenix Cabinet's master. He meant that the Phoenix Cabinet's master could do as she saw fit. The Phoenix Cabinet's master had a calm expression, not showing her emotions. You are weaker than him. There is no point in being unconvinced. Start choosing the female disciple you like. Wait. This time, the person who spoke was Suyu. Inyu, what do you want? The Phoenix Cabinet's master looked over. Suyu calmly said, Cabinet's master, why don't you grant him his wish? Those who are unconvinced can only be convinced by fists. He and Lu Li had long since had a fight, but there had never been a chance. Lu Li thought highly of himself and had not wanted to fight. He was only willing to fight Suyu now that he was forced. What a joke. Convince me? Who do you think you are? Lu Li's tone was agitated. The Phoenix Cabinet's master muttered to herself for a moment, then shook her head. There is no need for the two of you to fight. The Phoenix Cabinet's master clapped her hands. Whoosh! A cold face appeared in front of the Phoenix Cabinet's master. Phoenix Lady Yuling. She will fight the two of you separately to test the level of your abilities, the Phoenix Cabinet's master said. It will be clear who is stronger and who is weaker during the fight. This is to prevent the two of you from being injured before the final fight begins. There was still another round of competition. If the two of them were injured because of this interlude, it would affect the subsequent fights. Phoenix Lady Yuling looked at Su Yu coldly, revealing a meaningful expression. Luli was silent for a moment before she reluctantly nodded. That's barely enough. However, Su Yu resolutely shook his head. I don't agree. The Phoenix Cabinet's master frowned slightly. Why? Are you worried that Yuling is too strong and is not suitable to fight? No. Su Yu shook his head. Then what do you mean? The Phoenix Cabinet's master was confused. Su Yu chuckled. I just wanted to say that challenging them separately is a waste of time. The Phoenix Cabinet's master could not help but be astonished. Could it be that you wish to challenge Yuling together with Luli? After thinking for a moment, the Phoenix Cabinet's master nodded slightly. This is not impossible. If the two of you fight against one person at the same time, you'll be able to see who is stronger. But the Phoenix Cabinet's master looked at Yuling. If the two of you join hands, she will not be a match for you. When the two of you attack, you must be careful. Luli snorted indifferently. It doesn't matter which form it is, as long as we can compete with him. Yuling's eyebrows twitched. She was angry in her heart. 2 against 1. She had no chance of winning at all. Moreover, the possibility of her getting injured was extremely high. Teaming up to bully others is indeed your forte. Yuling snorted in disgust. She was still brooding over what had happened outside the forgotten pavilion 3 days ago. But against a despicable person like you, I am not afraid of you. Let's fight. The Phoenix Cabinet's master said. Inu, do you still have any objections? Yes. Su Yu was resolute. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was a little displeased. What else do you want? Su Yu lifted his head, his gaze gradually turning cold. Phoenix Cabinet's master, you have misunderstood me. I am not asking for you to join hands to fight Yuling. My request is for me to fight the two of them alone to save time. 1 person against 2. Chapter 372. The crowd burst into an uproar. Even the Phoenix Cabinet's master was slightly astonished. 1 against 2? Although Su Yu's abilities were not bad, Lu Li and Yuling were not ordinary people. A silly joke. On Yuling's cold and beautiful face, other than the deeper disdain, there was no change in her expression. In her heart, it was indeed a joke. Ha ha ha. Luli laughed heartily. Her laughter shook the entire place and shook everyone's soul. That was not a sneer, nor was it a sneer of ridicule. It was a sneer of extreme anger. After laughing for a long time, Luli gradually stopped, but her shoulders were still trembling, and a hoarse and fierce voice came out from her throat. 1 against 2? 1 against 2. Suddenly, Luli looked toward Su Yu like a wild beast, his eyes filled with a ferocious glow. Do you still have me in your eyes? To him, this was an extreme humiliation. Even if it was Shun Kong, he might not necessarily be able to fight 1 against 2. When the roar entered their ears, everyone was secretly shocked. It seemed that Lioli was completely enraged. For a time, many people felt the same way. 1 against 2? What kind of contempt was that? This was especially so in front of the eyes of all the peak geniuses of the northern continent. This was an utter humiliation. Many of them looked at Su Yu with displeasure in their eyes. An arrogant person would never be able to win the hearts of others. However, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Su Yu's expression did not change, and he calmly replied, Why do I need you in my eyes? From the beginning to the end, you only know how to step on me to show off. You've never done anything worthy of my respect. After saying this, Su Yu turned his head and looked at the Phoenix Cabinet's master. I do not mind them attacking me with all their might, and I do not feel that their alliance is a despicable act, because I am more than enough to deal with them. Yuling's expression darkened slightly. Don't be too arrogant. Just now, Yuling had looked down on Su Yu, saying that he was a despicable person who wanted to join hands to fight her. At this moment, in comparison, Yuling was at a disadvantage. The Phoenix Cabinet's master looked Su Yu up and down. After thinking for some time, she nodded her head. Sure. After getting their permission, Su Yu turned around and looked at the two of them with his hands clasped behind his back. He then said calmly, Let's go. Let's go together. Lioli was furious. Get lost. I can deal with you alone. How could he tolerate such humiliation? Palace Master Glaze, why don't you let me go first? As the Phoenix woman who is here to test your strength, the arrogant ones should naturally be dealt with by me first, Yuling said calmly. Luli pondered for a moment, then cupped her fists and snorted. Then I'll have to trouble Phoenix, Maiden Yuling. Do your best, you don't have to give me anything. Before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Su Yu. I don't have to give you face, do I? What face do you have? If you can't fight, then just stand to the side and shut your mouth. I'll deal with you later. He wasn't the slightest bit courteous towards Lioli. Luli wanted to retort, but she heard the Phoenix Cabinet's master say, the two of you will decide on your battle tactics. The duel will begin now. Qila, around Yuling's body, 3 zhong long tongues of flame shot out. The scalding flames burned fiercely. The temperature of the surrounding air rapidly increased by several times. Looking from afar, the flames lingering around his body condensed into the vague outline of a phoenix. The cry of a phoenix could be heard in the depths of the flames. Phoenix body. The ladies of the Phoenix Cabinet all had one thing in common. They had the bloodline of the divine phoenix. It was just that, more or less. For example, Sienna had the extremely rare phoenix of death bloodline. Without a doubt, Yuling had the bloodline of the fire phoenix. A person who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth will only come to his senses after facing the cruel reality. Yuling looked at him with disdain. This move is my gift to you. Phoenix dances in the 9 heavens. With a shout, the fire phoenix transformed into a 10-zhong-long phoenix, pouncing toward Su Yu. 1/10 of the arena was enveloped. The shocking waves quickly heated up the arena. Su Yu's feet fell hot. His body felt a stinging pain. A move that used the power of the bloodline was more powerful than Zhou Yinshan's devouring vortex. Taking a light breath, Su Yu advanced instead of retreating. Thunderstar Finger. But unexpectedly, he did not use the legendary divine artifact. Instead, he used Thunderstar Finger, which was only at level 1 of the Immortal Realm. This move was more than enough to deal with Immortal Realm level 3s, but it was far from enough to deal with Immortal Realm level 4s. Creak! Lightning arcs flew, colliding with the Fire Phoenix. The lightning was extinguished by the Fire Phoenix on the spot. The unparalleled flames engulfed Su Yu. Su Yu could not withstand a single blow. Yuling froze. It was easier than she had imagined. She could not help but sneer. You dare to be arrogant with just this bit of ability. However, her voice came to an abrupt halt as her pupils gradually contracted. The Fire Phoenix was raging. But Su Yu's figure stood on the arena, unharmed. It was as if the flames did not harm him in the slightest. When she looked over, she saw a snow-white, cold air circulating around Su Yu's body from his chest. It was unknown what kind of heaven-defying cold energy it was, but the flames of an Immortal Realm level 4 could not get close to him. In fact, the cold energy did not care about the flames in front of him. That was the only remaining ice herb of the ice and fire herbs. The fire herb could be exchanged for the mountain river dragon bough. Su Yu kept the ice herb for himself. That was a heaven-defying divine herb that could be exchanged for a legendary level technique. Back then, just a strand of its hair was enough to make Su Yu feel uncomfortable. Now, it was more than enough to deal with the power of the flames. Easily blocking the Fire Phoenix, Su Yu acted as if there was no one around him. He used Thunderstar Finger to clash with the Fire Phoenix. With 1 strike, the Thunderstar Finger was destroyed. With 2 strikes, it was destroyed again. With 3 strikes, it was still the same. In front of the Fire Phoenix, the power of the Thunderstar Finger could not compare. But Su Yu did not know fatigue. He used it again and again, giving it his all every time. In his mind, the enlightenment became deeper and deeper. The bottleneck that was just a step away from breaking through became weaker and weaker. Using me to train his technique, Yuling regained her senses, furious. During the sparring, he had ignored her and used her to break through. Simply humiliating. Trying to use me? Yuling let out a cold grunt, her 5 fingers grabbing the air. Phoenix sacrifice. Creak. The raging flames that enveloped Su Yu suddenly exploded, turning into fireballs the size of a palm. Each fireball contained extremely powerful flames compressed within it. Thump! Suddenly, the closest fireball exploded, forcing Suyu back. Even though the power of the flames was swallowed by the cold energy, the violent impact from the explosion forced Suyu back 100 meters. His body shook violently at once, a faint metallic taste in his mouth. But Suyu had no time to care about his injuries. His face filled with joy. He was about to break through. Just a little more, and he could break through to stage 2 of 9 fingers of imaginary thunder, Thousand Thunder Finger. He had waited for this day for too long. Finally, he was about to break through. He only needed to calm his heart and comprehend for a moment. Yu Ling hesitated, looking at the Phoenix Cabinet's master. She retracted her 5 claws, quietly waiting for Suyu to complete his final breakthrough. A transformation from stage 1 of an immortal spirit to stage 2. The opportunity for a martial artist to break through was extremely rare, especially at the level of an immortal spirit. It could only be chanced upon, and it was equivalent to a turning point in one's life. Stopping someone from breaking through was no different from cutting off their future, and they would definitely be hated. It was just a sparring session, and with the Phoenix Cabinet's master overseeing things, how would she dare act rashly? Suyu's expression became more and more gratified. The final bottleneck had finally begun to crumble. Rumble, rumble. At that moment, dark clouds gathered, thunder roaring from all directions. Chapter 373. Within a radius of 100 miles, lightning dragons roared furiously, and all sorts of lightning bolts rose and fell, illuminating the world. This part of the world was dazzling and colorful, as if it was a dreamy world. Only the deafening roar of the thunder shook the land, causing all spirits to fly and demons to flee. The shocking aura caused everyone present to turn their heads. Stage 2 of an immortal level technique has such a phenomenon. The crowd was shocked, their ears filled with awe as they listened to the roar of the thunder. At this moment, tens of thousands of lightning bolts were madly gathering towards Suyu. He would soon successfully break through and completely control the Thousand Thunder Finger. Collect! Suyu pointed toward the sky. At that moment, the dark clouds within a 100-mile radius revolved, with Suyu's fingertip as the center. It formed a tornado. Within the giant vortex were thousands of bolts of lightning gradually gathering. Following the vortex, the lightning entered Suyu's body through his finger. He has reached the most crucial step, collecting the lightning of heaven and earth for his own use. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's eyes were filled with praise. Collecting 1,000 bolts of lightning and storing them within his body will allow him to unleash the power of 1,000 bolts of lightning in the future. Leader Mu's eyes were filled with shock. She muttered, "A lightning-based immortal-level technique is indeed overbearing." She had also cultivated an immortal-level technique to stage 2 lower class, but in comparison, her momentum was incomparable to Suyu's. "But Master, what if he does not absorb enough lightning?" Leader Mu asked curiously. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's gaze turned serious. "The consequences will be severe. The amount of lightning he absorbs now represents the power of his stage 2 immortal level technique. If he cannot absorb all the lightning he summons, the power of his immortal level technique will be greatly reduced. All his previous efforts would be wasted, and he would have to choose a new immortal level technique to cultivate." Leader Mu was shocked. "I hope he can break through safely. This concerns his future." In the air, Suyu's eyes were filled with excitement, his chest filled with indescribable joy. It had not been easy for him to come today. Feeling the bolts of lightning enter his body, the powerful lightning that made him tremble gave him a long-awaited surprise. The top-class Thunderstar Finger could form 9 lightning dragons. The Thousand Thunder Finger could form 1,000 lightning dragons. Its might was so terrifying that it was beyond compare. Suppressing his excitement, Suyu absorbed the lightning with all his might, enjoying the late breakthrough. 1, 2, 3, 10. Suyu was filled with excitement. This was a moment that belonged to him, a a moment that was watched by tens of thousands of people. This was the moment that the geniuses of a northern continent saw him break through to the second true spirit layer. Chirp, however, at the critical moment of Su Yu's breakthrough, a deafening shriek came from the sky. A blue residual shadow pierced through the void and flew towards Su Yu at an incredible speed. His aura was ferocious, his temperament wild, and most importantly, his speed was too fast. Evil bird, stop! Mu Tianfeng only had time to cry out. Seeing this, Zhong Wan's expression changed drastically. Su Yu was at the most crucial moment, so how could he have the leisure to deal with this bird? Once his breakthrough was interrupted, Su Yu's lightning-based cultivation technique would be considered wasted, and all his efforts would go to waste. The blue bird was too sinister. However, the blue bird was too fast, so fast that Zhong Wan felt despair. He couldn't save them in time. Su Yu, who was fully focused, was about to be hit by the blue bird. Right at that moment, Su Yu, who was fully focused on his breakthrough, suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with cold laughter. I knew this would happen. Shua, Su Yu pointed to the sky with one hand and continued to absorb the lightning of the world. His other hand took out the Mountain River Dragon Bow. It's here. His strongest trump card was a mid-grade divine artifact. Zhou Yinshin was defeated by a divine artifact. The crowd exclaimed, but Su Yu only had one hand. How could he shoot an arrow? Creak! A dumbfounding scene appeared. Su Yu held the bow with his right hand, lowering his head. He opened his mouth, using his teeth to bite on the bowstring, pulling it back an inch. He could shoot an arrow like that. Whoosh! He loosened his teeth, and a fingernail-sized arrow of spiritual energy shot toward the giant bird in the sky at lightning speed, leaving behind a trail of blue afterimages. Chirp! The blue bird let out a cry, its 100-zhong body revealing itself. Beneath its wings, a bloody hole pierced through both sides of its body. Large pieces of flesh were blasted away by the powerful arrow energy. The life within its body was completely extinguished. It could not be more dead, continuously falling, finally landing on the stage with a loud thud. Looking over, the crowd finally realized the identity of the uninvited guest. It's the blue fantasy bird, and it's the one that belongs to Palace Master Lu Li. Su Yu was absorbing the lightning, calmly looking at Lu Li. Just like you, so I was prepared. How could he believe that Lu Li would watch as he broke through? Without a doubt, he was the one who had secretly instructed the blue fantasy bird. How could Lu Li admit to his despicable actions in front of everyone? Silver you are too much. It was just wild and hard to tame. Why did you kill it? With your abilities, you could have easily chased it away. Su Yu remembered this sentence deeply. That day, Lu Li had ridden the blue fantasy bird. It was this beast that had hurt many innocent fighters with its screams. Lu Li's explanation was that the blue fantasy bird was wild and hard to tame. Furthermore, no one had died. The people of Inu City should be thankful. What a joke. When the blue fantasy bird had attacked Su Yu, Lu Li had not said a word to stop it. Now, he was crying out for the blue fantasy bird. Su Yu let out a cold laugh. Wild and hard to tame? Since you can't control your demonic beast, I will do it for you. You. Lu Li glared at him. What about you? Keep your evil intentions to yourself and scram. Su Yu was disgusted. Lu Li could not help but laugh in anger. Are you looking down on me just because you are about to break through to stage 2? What a petty person. Humph. No wonder you dare to fight 1 against 2. You had already predicted that you would enter a state of breakthrough. We would hold back and not attack you. But Lu Li had not finished his sentence. He felt the spirit energy in the surroundings turn chaotic. He saw that Su Yu had used his mouth to pull back the bow. But this time, Su Yu did not just pull the bow back an inch. He pulled it back an entire 3 inches. Using a drop of Tu Long's blood, he had successfully refined 10% of the bow and could pull it back 3 inches. This was the first time Su Yu had used the silver bow's strongest power. A 1-foot-long arrow of spirit energy faintly appeared on the silver bow. Waves of destructive aura emanated from the arrow. The expressions of Zhong Wan, Wei Qilin, and even Shun Kong changed slightly. That arrow actually made them feel a chill in their hearts. Lu Li's words came to an abrupt halt, his pupils dilating. How could this be? Why is the power of your silver bow different from before? Wait, you have been hiding your abilities all this while? So you could have used that arrow, but he had held back time and time again. But Lu Li had provoked him again and again. Being aimed at by the silver bow, Lu Li's heart thumped wildly. His facial muscles squirmed, his entire body tensed up, his mouth dry. Wait, you are at the juncture of a breakthrough. You should not attack. At this moment, he finally understood that the one who was disdainful of fighting was not him, but Su Yu. He had spoken to stall for time because he did not want to lose to Su Yu in front of everyone and lose all his dignity. Unfortunately, Su Yu had already seen through his thoughts. The disgust in his eyes deepened. There's no need. Get lost. I will only be more at ease when I break through. Creak. At once, a tornado shot toward Lu Li with the power to engulf all living things. Rumble. Lu Li did not even manage to block it. He was sent flying 1,000 meters away, nailing into the wall. The long arrow pierced through his abdomen. Blood flowed, staining half the wall. His arrogant eyes were like those of a dead fish, filled with pain and fear. As the arrow of spirit energy dissipated, his body fell like a gunny sack, his entire body in a sorry state. His injuries weren't fatal, but everyone knew that this was only because Su Yu hadn't killed him yet. Lu Li, who was unconvinced, who thought highly of himself, who thought he was better than Su Yu, could not even withstand a single blow from Su Yu. The contrast was so great that it shocked everyone. This was Palace Master Yin Yu's true ability. In an instant, everyone was in awe. Why? Do you want me to invite you down? Su Yu glanced at Yuling. Yuling bit her lips, looking into Su Yu's eyes. She felt an inexplicable fear. After a moment, she lowered her head and walked down the stage, her face filled with shame. She had lost even the will to fight. Furthermore, Su Yu only had one hand left. At this moment, no one doubted that Su Yu had the ability to fight the two of them alone. With no one to disturb him, Su Yu absorbed the lightning with all his might. Jiang Mufei's jaw almost hit the ground. Yin Yu is that strong? He had easily won against two immortal realm-level 4s alone. Zhong Wan smiled, but did not speak, his gaze profound. Wei Qilin's nostrils flared, his cold eyes indifferently sweeping past Su Yu. Passable. Chapter 374. A mysterious smile bloomed in the depths of Shun Kong's eyes. The battle was over. Under the respectful gazes of the crowd, Su Yu collected the 1,000 thunderbolts into his body in an orderly manner. If one were to inspect Su Yu's dantian, they would discover that there were more than 1,000 thunder dragons coiled around him. There were all kinds of thunderbolts. The dark clouds in the sky dissipated, and the earth regained its brightness. A weak ray of sunlight shone on Su Yu's body. His smooth silver hair reflected the dazzling silver light. Under the silver mask, his tranquil expression was naturally out of this world. As the crowd stared at Su Yu, they all felt an indescribable pressure. Palace Master Yin Yu had suddenly appeared in the northern continent. He was a legendary genius that shocked the entire time and space. He had fought 1 against 2, leaving them with an unforgettable memory. Lu Li, do you still have any questions? The Phoenix Cabinet's master tilted her head and looked at Lu Li. Lu Li was ashamed. How absurd was his unwillingness to accept it now? No. Lori spoke with difficulty, suppressing the indescribable humiliation in her heart. The Phoenix Cabinet's master nodded slightly. All right, then start choosing. Shun Kong, who do you want to marry? Everyone knew in their hearts that Shun Kong and Feng Xian had already decided to spend the rest of their lives together. This was merely a formality. Xianer, Shun Kong answered as expected. Nodding her head expressionlessly, the Phoenix Cabinet's master looked toward Su Yu, her eyes filled with admiration. Where is Yin Yu? The master of the Phoenix Cabinet has tens of thousands of female disciples. I wonder if any of them caught your eye? Su Yu mocked himself inwardly. Xianer was already his fiancée, yet his spy had to compete with someone else. It was truly ironic. Seeing that he was unmoved, the Phoenix Cabinet's master thought that Su Yu was afraid of something. She smiled. You can say it. As long as it is a disciple of the Phoenix Cabinet, you can choose. I will make the decision for you. Even if it is a Yuling her? The crowd was secretly shocked. Wasn't the Phoenix Cabinet's master thinking too highly of Inu? Yuling, who was ranked second among the 10 great Phoenix maidens of the current generation, was the proud daughter of the North Continent. The only one who could suppress her was Feng Xian. There were more than 100 top-notch geniuses before him, and the Spirit Tamer was second only to Feng Xian. However, the Phoenix Cabinet's master favored Inu so much and was willing to stand up for him. Hearing these words, Yuling's expression changed. She bit her red lips, feeling dissatisfied. However, she did not dare to retort. Although Inu was strong, he was not the best candidate for her husband. Shen Kong and Wei Qilin could not be compared to Su Yu. She was unwilling to marry Su Yu. Cabinet Master, thank you for your kind intentions. Let someone else have Phoenix Lady Yuling. I have someone else in mind. Su Yu expressed his thoughts. Yuling was slightly startled. Her heart, which had been hanging in suspense, relaxed. However, what followed was a bellyful of anger. What does that mean? Was she not worthy of Inyu's attention? She felt that marrying Su Yu was an injustice, but she had never thought that Su Yu might not even like her. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was slightly surprised. Then, who is the person you have chosen? If one were to observe carefully, one would notice that her eyebrows were slightly knitted, and a trace of worry was faintly discernible. Xian Er, I only came for her. Su Yu blurted out without hesitation. As expected, a look of helplessness flashed in the Phoenix Cabinet's master's colorful eyes. She wanted to win over both Shen Kong and Su Yu. However, there was only one Feng Xian. All right, I will remember that, the Phoenix Cabinet's master said. What about Wei Qilin? Snow Listening Tower's strongest genius, young Master Qilin. Me? Of course it's Feng Xian. Wei Qilin stood with his arms crossed, his expression as though it was a matter of course. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was not surprised. Wei Qilin had always liked to fight, and he had always treated Shen Kong as his ultimate opponent. Naturally, he would fight with Shen Kong for anything that could be fought over, including women. Why fight with Shen Kong for no reason? The choice of a spouse is an important matter that affects one's entire life, the Phoenix Cabinet's master advised. Unexpectedly, Wei Qilin's eyebrows twitched. Fight with Shen Kong? That is not it. His fierce gaze swept past Su Yu like a sharp arrow. I only want to know why this piece of trash is ahead of me. In other words, Wei Qilin had chosen the same candidate as Su Yu because he wanted to compete with him. The only person stronger than me is Shen Kong, Wei Qilin said coldly, shaking his head. I do not agree with this ranking. So that was the case. The Phoenix Cabinet's master nodded. All right, I will remember your choice. What about Zhong Wan? Zhong Wan smiled indifferently. I am only here for the honor of the Xintian Manor. I have no interest in any woman. His gaze drifted past Su Yu and the other two, and he said softly, since they have chosen Phoenix Lady Feng Xian, then I shall join them for a while as well. The Phoenix Cabinet's master furrowed her brows, but there was nothing she could do. All right. Su Yu, who was at the side, had a glint in his eyes, his gaze sweeping past Zhong Wan and Jiang Mufei. He still had a question that he had never confessed to the two of them. According to what Gao Tsang had said, out of the 3 heavenly kings of the Xintian Manor, Gao Tsang was the first to surrender to Han Jianglin. However, Zhong Wan and Jiang Mufei would rather die than to be imprisoned in the Xintian Manor. Why would they represent the Xintian Manor and appear the Phoenix crime meet? Could it be that they had submitted to Han Jianglin? Where is Lu Li? The Phoenix Cabinet's master asked. With great difficulty, Lu Li mustered up a bit of spirit and said with slight hesitation, Phoenix Maiden Yuling is very much to my liking. Pavilion Master, please grant my wish. Her? The Phoenix Cabinet's master was not surprised. Without much thought, the Phoenix Cabinet's master replied directly, If you can defeat Yuling, I have no objections. She took the initiative to betroth Yuling to Su Yu. However, He tactfully rejected Lu Li's request. The difference in treatment between the two was like heaven and earth. Yu Ling herself also curled her lips, revealing her disdain. Having been rejected in front of everyone, Lu Li was already angry and embarrassed. Seeing Yu Ling's expression, he felt vexed, his expression becoming a little agitated. Yu Ling, what do you mean? Yu Ling sneered. What a joke. You are inferior to others, asking to be humiliated. You vent your vexation on me. You really are a man. Lu Li's chest was filled with anger, about to explode from anger. Losing to Su Yu in front of everyone was fine. Being rejected by the Phoenix Cabinet's master in front of everyone was fine. Even Yu Ling had mocked him in front of him. When had he fallen to such a state? Yu Ling, no matter how vexed I am not someone you can criticize. Lu Li's face was filled with anger. Phoenix Cabinet's master, please decide. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was expressionless. That's fine. Since both of you have chosen the woman you like, then the Phoenix meet will proceed to its final stage. Among all of you who have chosen the same woman, Feng Xian will be betrothed to whoever wins. The Phoenix Cabinet's master said. However, before that, let Yu Ling and Lu Li settle their grievances first. If Lu Li wins, I will make the decision to betroth Yu Ling to him. If he loses, he will be expelled from the Phoenix Cabinet. Banish? So strict? All right, I have no problem. Liu Li stood with her arms crossed, full of confidence. In the realm of a mortal realm level 4 lower tier, he was considered above average. Otherwise, Zhong Yinshan would not be afraid of him. Yu Ling might not be able to defeat him. I have no problem either, Yu Ling said coldly. Shwa shwa. Two figures flickered and flew onto the arena, staring at each other. Following the order from the Phoenix Cabinet's master, the two of them quickly exchanged blows. She was adept at movement techniques, and her figure was fleeting like a ghost. Phoenix dances in the 9 heavens. Yu Ling condensed raging flames, surrounding the surroundings. Puchi, all of a sudden, a huge gap appeared in the ring of fire. A swift afterimage extinguished the flames and charged forward. Yu Ling was caught off guard, and her fragrant shoulder was hit. She let out a painful groan and retreated a few feet. In the first confrontation, Liu Li had the upper hand. With such abilities, you dare to mock and ridicule me? You overestimate yourself. Liu Li laughed coldly. He used his movement technique freely, circling around Yu Ling and attacking again. Yu Ling rubbed her fragrant shoulder, her expression still calm and composed. However, her cold smile became deeper. Do you think that I only have the power of my bloodline? Phoenix dances in the 9 heavens was merely the bloodline of the Fire Phoenix. Could it be that Yu Ling possessed a unique technique? According to the rules, I am only allowed to use the power of my bloodline to test your abilities. Since this is a personal match between you and me, there is no need for me to hold back. Mu Tianfang could not hide the envy in her eyes. You are finally going to use it. Phoenix Woman Yu Ling's true trump card, 8 trigrams consecutive palm. 8 trigrams consecutive palm. Yu Ling's expression was solemn. She circled her hands in front of her body, circulating them in a strange manner. At once, the shadows of the palms overlapped, and afterimages appeared one after another. Liu Li was slightly cautious. Humph! I will break it for you to see. Whoosh! Liu Li disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was like a cloud that appeared behind Yu Ling without warning, attacking her back in an extremely crafty manner. However, a strange scene appeared. As if she had eyes, Yu Ling struck her back with her palm. Wow! The seemingly soft palm strike struck Liu Li's chest, but it was like a heavy mountain. Liu Li spat out a mouthful of blood, flying backward 100 meters. A collapsed palm print appeared on his chest. This palm shocked everyone present. What a powerful palm technique. Zhong Wan stood beside Su Yu, nodding his head in approval, combining strength and softness, possessing both offense and defense. Circulating it around her body, she is almost invulnerable. If she did not have any restrictions just now and used this set of palm techniques, it would be difficult for your arrow to defeat her easily. Su Yu did not deny this. Even though the bow and arrow are strong and fierce, they have a natural weakness. They only have a single mode of attack. It is not strange for them to be restrained by a palm technique that combines both offense and defense. However, it was obvious that Suyu did not only have the bow and arrow. Liuli was shocked. The intense pain in his chest incited his unwillingness. Again, whoosh, wow, without any suspense. Every time Liuli neared Yuling, he was sent flying by a palm strike, spitting out blood. After 10 consecutive moves, he did not even manage to harm a single hair on Liuli's body. Instead, Liuli's injuries became more severe, his whole body covered in blood. Do you still want to continue? Yuling looked toward Liuli coldly, her eyes filled with disdain. Liuli had been defeated consecutively. His past arrogance had collapsed at this moment. He, who could not accept such a defeat, had fainted on the spot due to Yuling's mocking laughter. Useless trash. Yuling was filled with disdain, standing on the arena and not walking down. The Phoenix Cabinet's master calmly said, "Carry him down and throw him out of the Phoenix Cabinet. The competition shall continue. Next will be the competition between all of you. According to the rules of the past, you will spar 1-to-1. However, this time, I wish to change the rules," the Phoenix Cabinet's master said. Before this, she had mentioned that this year's Phoenix meet would be different. Everyone was mentally prepared. The final competition will no longer be 1-to-1. Instead, it will be a group battle. Shen Kong, Yin Wei Qilin, Zhongwan, and Yuling, the 5 of you will fight your own battles. The person still standing on the arena will be the final winner. Chapter 375. Do I have to win? Suyu secretly clenched his fists. He did not just want to defeat Shen Kong. He wanted to defeat all the top geniuses of the northern continent. He could only win. He could not lose. If the final winner is Yuling, then there would be no winner in this Phoenix meet. Do you understand? The 5 of them nodded and looked at each other. The only way to end the so-called chaotic battle quickly was to form an alliance. Shen Kong, Wei Qilin, I'm willing to lend you a hand. Without hesitation, Yuling wore a cold smile at the corners of her mouth. She glanced at Suyu and stood on their side without hesitation. Only Suyu and Zhongwan were left. Shen Kong was the #1 genius of the Empire of Darkness's Northern Continent Branch Palace. Wei Qilin was the eldest young master of Snow's Lament, the #1 genius. Both of them were peerless figures whose names shook the continent and had been famous for a long time. This was especially so for Shen Kong, who had defeated his opponent with 1 move. He was a legend that no one in the Northern Continent could surpass. As for Wei Qilin, he was the second strongest person after Shen Kong. No one had ever been able to withstand 5 moves from Wei Qilin. If the 2 of them joined forces, who in the Northern Continent could go against them? Coupled with Yuling, whose abilities were close to Immortal Realm Level 4 upper tier, the combination of the 3 of them drove Suyu and Zhongwan out of the circle without any suspense. However, what was unexpected was that Shen Kong smiled but did not speak. He stood at the side with his hands clasped behind his back, unmoved. As for Wei Qilin, he said indifferently, "Join forces? Who are you talking to? Do I, Wei Qilin, need to join hands with a woman like you to teach 2 nameless people a lesson?" Wei Qilin's cold gaze swept over. Yuling's expression froze, her face filled with awkwardness. "I was just suggesting," Wei Qilin shouted coldly. "This suggestion is also an insult to me." As proud and arrogant as he was, he actually took Yuling seriously. "From what I see, your existence is merely a hindrance. Before I deal with them, I'll send you off first." Yuling's expression changed. She was furious. Not only did she fail to gain Wei Qilin's favor, she even angered him. Yuling mocked herself in her heart. She quickly activated the 8 trigrams consecutive palm, her entire body on guard. Windbreaker. Wei Qilin casually threw out a punch. Separated by 100 feet, a huge fish shadow that was half a foot long materialized. Yuling used the 8 trigrams consecutive palm technique to protect the surrounding area, making it airtight. She had indeed received this punch. However, The power contained in the fist could not be completely neutralized. Puff! Yuling opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. She retreated a few steps. Both of her palms were numb. Her face was filled with anger, but more than that, respect. This punch was too terrifying. Compared to him, Luli's attack was like a child waving her fists. Armor break. Wei Qilin stood on the spot and casually punched out again. A black iron-colored phantom of a 10 feet large fist struck out with a loud rumble. Yuling's expression changed drastically. How would she dare to be negligent? He used the 8 trigrams consecutive palm to its fullest. When the fist shadow came, she had already used no less than 10 palms to neutralize the force of the fist. However, this fist was too terrifying. A cracking sound came from Yuling's palms. Her bones were actually fractured. His chest was fiercely hit by the fist shadow. Chala. The clothes on his chest were torn apart, and his abdomen was badly mutilated. A long arrow of blood shot out from her red lips. Then, her body smashed into the arena and shot high into the air. Bang! Yuling fell heavily onto the ground and fainted on the spot. Wei Qilin withdrew his fist expressionlessly and said coldly, 2 moves. Yes, Yuling had been defeated pathetically in just 2 moves. Seeing Wei Qilin fight for the first time, so you could not help but turn serious. It's your turn. Wei Qilin turned his head and looked towards Su Yu and Zhong Wan, especially Su Yu. I am Shen Kong's only opponent. There is no room for a third person. You do not have the ability to be ranked ahead of me. Wei Qilin stared at Su Yu. Su Yu's expression was indifferent. Abilities are obtained through fighting, not through words. Then I will fight until you agree. Wei Qilin was resolute. A layer of faint lightning appeared on the surface of Su Yu's body. Then let's fight. But Wei Qilin suddenly turned his gaze toward Zhong Wan. I will fight. I do not like an eyesore. Go down. Zhong Wan was not angry in the slightest. He wore a slight smile. I heard that Mr. Qilin of the Snow Listening Tower has obtained an ancient immortal-level secret technique, the Heaven-Breaking 9 Styles. I've been fascinated by it for a long time. It is rare for me to meet you, and I would like to witness it. Heaven-Breaking 9 Styles. Wind-Breaking and Armor-Breaking were only the 2 most basic styles. I like to help those who seek their own humiliation. Wei Qilin was expressionless. Wind-Breaking. A 5-zhong fist shadow materialized, heading straight for Zhong Wan. But Zhong Wan stood with his hands behind his back, his expression calm. His eyes glowed with a piercing divine light. I soared. Creak! A shocking scene appeared. 2 bolts of sword energy shot out from Zhong Wan's eyes. Yes, sword energy shot out from his eyes. The disdainful sword energy sliced through the air, letting out a violent explosion. The 5-zhong fist shadow was destroyed on the spot. Su Yu's pupils dilated. What a powerful sword energy. Where was Zhong Wan's sword? How could he release sword energy out of thin air? Wei Qilin's expression did not change. He quickly followed up with a second punch. Armor breaking. The terrifying fist shadow, its power doubled, pierced through the air, heading straight for Zhong Wan. With his hands behind his back, Zhong Wan slowly lowered his right hand. A serious expression finally appeared on his face. Finger sword. With a grunt, Zhong Wan raised his right hand, his index finger and middle finger pointing forward. Creak! At that moment, a sword-shaped air current visible to the naked eye shot out from his finger. This sword sliced through the air, causing the dust to retreat. Sparks could be faintly seen. That was the intense flame created by the friction between the sword energy and the air. Creak! The Tenjong fist shadow was destroyed on the spot. Wei Qilin's indifferent expression finally changed a little. It's not too bad. Take my third move. Break evil. Suddenly, a huge fist shadow that was 20 feet in size, shaped like a small mountain, struck towards them in a dark and oppressive manner. That terrifying pressure made it difficult for one to breathe. Zhong Wan's expression turned even more serious. He took a deep breath, raising both palms, releasing a sword energy that shook the air. Sword wielding. Su Yu stood to the side, his eyelids twitching. The sword energy of this sword was several times more powerful than the silver bow. Immortal Realm level 1 lower tier would definitely die if faced with it. Whoosh whoosh, the two swords struck out, causing the air to tremble. They left a long trail of flames in the air. Bang! The giant fish shadow was destroyed, turning into spirit energy and dissipating. The remaining sword energy headed straight for Wei Qilin's body. This time, Wei Qilin's expression turned serious for the first time. Sword Demon Zhongwan, I have to admit, I have underestimated you, but I'm afraid this is as far as you can go. Fourth move, Break Evil. Rumble. The fist shadow had yet to land, but a rumbling sound could be heard. It was as if a giant mountain had crashed down. Focusing his eyes, he saw a black fist that was at least 4 zhong in size. Its entire body was wreathed in raging black flames, like a demonic palm. Crack. A slight cracking sound could be heard from deep within the arena, unable to withstand the power of the demonic palm. Sui was shocked. The power of this move was very close to Inspector Baihe's. Zhongwan's expression was serious, his long black hair moving without any wind. His entire body released a shocking sword energy. Suyu looked over, shocked to discover that the sword energy was being released from all parts of Zhongwan's body. Hair, nails, skin, flesh, eyes, every part of his body was releasing sword energy. With my heart, everything can become a sword. Zhongwan's hair and beard stood on end, the terrifying sword energy surrounding his body. At that moment, it was as if he himself was a peerless sword. Man as sword, sword as man, man and sword as one. Man and sword as one. Creak. Leaving behind an afterimage, Zhongwan released a shocking sword energy. His entire body turned into a sword, flying through the air. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's eyes glowed with praise. Rumor has it that Zhongwan was infatuated with the sword his entire life. He went berserk for the sake of the sword 9 times, creating the unprecedented heart sword. Hence, he is known as the Sword Demon. Mu Tianfang was shocked. Master, what is the heart sword? Hiding the sword in his heart, turning the sword into a formless form. This is the heart sword. He has long broken free from the shackles of a tangible sword, treating himself as a sword. Every part of his body is a sword. With my heart, the sword cuts through everything. Zhongwan is a genius who uses the sword. Mu Tianfang's evaluation of Zhongwan was extremely accurate, no weaker than Su Yu's. What? On the arena, Wei Qilin was shocked. Such a heaven-defying sword technique had finally moved him. Man and sword as one. The terrifying power that could cut through everything made Wei Qilin feel the threat of death. Thump! The demon-breaking palm was destroyed by the man and sword as one without any resistance, heading straight for Wei Qilin. Wei Qilin's eyelids twitched, his heart trembling. He clenched his teeth. You forced me to do this. Fifth move, God-breaking. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Suddenly, the surrounding spirit energy turned violent, forming a vortex in the sky. A giant fist about 8 zhong tall, like the hand of the heavens, slammed down from the clouds. Seeing this palm, the crowd gasped. From the giant fist, they could feel an unfathomable heavenly might. That destructive power enveloped the hearts of everyone present, causing them to shudder in fear. Crack! A giant crack finally appeared on the enveloped arena, splitting the arena into 2. At this moment, the man and sword as one struck. One summoned a giant fist, while the other transformed into a peerless demonic sword. The two collided, exploding with an unprecedented sound. Rumble! The arena was smashed into pieces, dust filling the sky. The remnants of the shock wave engulfed the surroundings, affecting many female disciples. Waves of panicked cries of pain came from all around. However, no one could shift their gaze away from the arena. This battle was really too shocking. Everyone had an unprecedented understanding of Zhongwan. The infamous sword demon Zhongwan was a genius who could fight with Wei Qilin. When the dust dissipated, the situation between the two was revealed. Wei Qilin stood at his original position, his face slightly pale. But Zhongwan took a few steps back, a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. It was clear who was stronger and who was weaker. In the end, Zhongwan was still slightly weaker. Cough, cough. Coughing out blood, Zhongwan cupped his fists and retreated. You are more skilled, I admit defeat. Even with Wei Qilin's pride, he did not say anything arrogant. Instead, he was respectful. You should be proud to be able to withstand 5 moves from me. Zhongwan had nearly destroyed his legend of not being defeated in 5 moves. How could he be disrespectful? Taking a deep breath, Zhongwan coldly looked at Suyu. Is there still a need for a battle between us? In other words, after seeing Wei Qilin's 5 moves, Suyu should know when to advance and when to retreat. The crowd looked at Suyu, secretly sweating for him. Wei Qilin was so powerful that he could not be attacked. Even a genius like Zhongwan had lost to him. What ability did Suyu have to surpass Wei Qilin? Why not? I will break your record of not being defeated in 5 moves. Suyu's eyes burned with battle intent. He had not fought seriously in a long time. Wei Qilin was a rare opponent. Regardless of the outcome of this battle, Suyu would definitely benefit greatly. Chapter 376. Below the stage, Yuling could not help but shake her head. Forget it. You might not even be able to defeat me, much less Wei Qilin. She admitted that Suyu was extremely talented. With the help of the silver bow, it was as if God was helping him. Even someone as strong as Lu Li was defeated by a single arrow. However, having personally experienced how frightening Wei Qilin was, Yuling did not hold any hope for Suyu. Most people agreed with this statement. Relying on weapons and external forces was, after all, a small trick. If Suyu wanted to defeat Wei Qilin, he still had a long way to go. However, Suyu's expression was calm. He looked at Yuling expressionlessly. Even if I lost in terms of fighting ability, I might still be able to catch up if I put in more effort. However, if I lost in terms of heart, I will lose forever. In Yuling's heart, Wei Qilin was already an undefeatable existence. If she lost the will to fight, she would forever stay behind Wei Qilin. Not only did her ridicule fail, but she was taught a lesson instead. Yuling was annoyed as she coldly sneered. There's no need to pretend to be calm. Wait until you truly go up the stage and fight with him. Only then will you know that right now. You're just standing there and talking. There's no cure for her. Suyu shook his head lightly. He was too lazy to continue reminding her. Wei Qilin stood with his arms crossed, indifferent to Suyu's arrogant words. His face was calm and indifferent. Since you want to fight, make your move. Suyu stood at his original position with his hands clasped behind his back. He did not attack immediately. Replenish your spiritual energy and physical strength. Taking advantage of someone when they are down is not an honorable victory. After the battle with Zhongwan, Wei Qilin's face was somewhat pale. He had expended a lot of energy. There's no need. It's obviously enough to deal with you. Wei Qilin shook his head indifferently and took the initiative to attack. Armor break. Wei Qilin waved his hand casually, and a 3-zhong fist shadow attacked Suyu. He immediately used the second form of the heaven, shattering 9 forms, as if he wanted to end the battle quickly. Suyu's expression did not change. He pulled the silver bow, and a 3-inch-long spiritual arrow appeared. As Suyu loosened his fingers, the arrow pierced through the void like a rainbow, causing the sky to tremble. Bang! As the fist shadow shattered, Suyu's arrow was also destroyed. The archery techniques that Suyu relied on were only comparable to Wei Qilin's heaven-breaking second style. I'll give you 2 moves. Next is the 3rd move. You can go down now. Wei Qilin raised his hand and waved his sleeve lightly. Destroy evil. The 20-foot palm shadow was extremely powerful and ferocious. It was far more powerful than the second move, broken armor. The silver bow was unable to deal with it. Shua. Suyu put away the silver bow without hesitation. Wei Qilin said indifferently, 3 moves? I can only say that it's not too bad. In many people's eyes, Suyu had given up on continuing the fight. ZZ. At this moment, people suddenly heard the sound of thunder arcs. Looking at Suyu, Purple lightning arcs seeped out of his pores and covered his body like a set of purple battle armor. Between his fingers, there were 300 thin bolts of lightning swiftly swimming about. An unsettling aura surged out. Thousand Thunder Finger. Suyu lifted his finger and pointed. 300 thunderbolts roared out. Within 1,000 meters, all the cultivators could feel the weak electricity spreading in the air, numbing their entire bodies. While they were greatly shocked, they all circulated their spiritual energy to resist the all-pervasive lightning. What a terrifying power of thunder! Could it be that this is the true spirit lightning cultivation method that he just broke through? Isn't this a little too domineering? How could the second level of an ordinary immortal level technique have such power? The multicolored lightning glowed like a dream, illuminating the entire arena. As Suyu pointed, the lightning on his fingertip formed a 5-colored ring of light, flying forward. Creak! The Tuzhong palm shadow was instantly dispersed. The 5-colored ring of light did not lose its momentum, heading straight for Wei Qilin's face. It seemed a little powerful. Wei Qilin's expression turned serious. Then take another attack for me. Demon Breaking. The fourth move, a palm shadow that was as large as a small mountain, came crashing down. The two collided. With the sound of thunder, the palm shadow dispersed with a bang. The 5-colored ring of lightning dimmed slightly, but it still retained 70% of its power. Wei Qilin's expression was unprecedentedly serious, a little shocked. Even after destroying 2 moves consecutively, it still retained such power. Regaining his composure, Wei Qilin calmly said, "The power is indeed acceptable, but it ends here." Fifth move, God-breaking. The 80 zhong tall palm shadow, which was like a mountain, covered half of the arena. It pressed down with a loud rumble, as if it wanted to bury Suyu alive. In front of it, the 5-colored ring of lightning was small and insignificant. But when the two collided, the mountainous palm shadow stopped. After that, the ground shook violently, and the palm shadow broke into 5 pieces. A dimmer ring of lightning shot out from the broken pieces, attacking Wei Qilin. Wei Qilin turned pale with shock, blocking in a fluster. However, he had never imagined that his fifth move would actually be so easily countered. The distance was so close, and he was caught off guard. The ring of lightning struck his chest, turning into a ball of lightning fire, quickly burning his chest. It was char-black, and his flesh was a mess. At the same time, the resulting explosion of lightning caused his body to retreat. With a pathetic grunt, Wei Qilin's throat tasted blood. He retreated 9 steps, nearly falling off the arena. His face was filled with pain and shock. He had actually lost. He, who had defeated his opponent with 5 moves, had actually lost in the 5th move. Among the geniuses of the North Continent's current generation, apart from Shun Kong, no one had been able to defeat him. So he was the only one. Furthermore, he had defeated him within 5 moves. The entire arena was dead silent. Apart from the Phoenix Cabinet's master, who had a smile on her face, having expected this, everyone else was shocked. The number 2 genius of the North Continent, Wei Qilin, had been defeated. Yuling's pupils shrank to the size of a needle. Her chest rose and fell, showing the shock in her heart. In her eyes, Suyu, who might not even be comparable to her, had defeated Wei Qilin, who had defeated her in 2 moves. The huge gap made it difficult for Yu Ling to accept it. Jiang Mufei's beautiful eyes were wide open. Isn't this guy hiding his abilities too deeply? He is even stronger than Brother Zhongwan? At that moment, the gazes the crowd used to look at Suyu had completely changed. When the Phoenix Cabinet's master had ranked him before Lu Li, they could not understand. Before Zhongwan, they could not understand. Before Wei Qilin, they could not understand immediately. But at that moment, they finally understood how perceptive the Phoenix Cabinet's master was. Among the 5 peak geniuses, Suyu is undoubtedly ranked second. Their understanding of Suyu had changed from an unknown legendary genius to one that came from the bottom of their hearts. Apart from Shun Kong, the strongest genius of the North Continent had been born. Furthermore, He was only 17 years old. He deserved the title of a legendary genius. No one could imagine how shocking his growth would be in the future. Faced with the focus of the crowd, Su Yu's expression was indifferent. He swept his gaze past Wei Qilin and calmly said, "Only 2 moves. One move was the Silver Bow, and the other was the Thousand Thunderfinger. To defeat Wei Qilin, Su Yu had only used 2 moves." Wei Qilin regained his senses from a shock, feeling a great sense of defeat. He had only seen Shen Kong as a worthy opponent, but he had been caught up to by a nameless junior and defeated in 2 moves. Retracting his gaze, Su Yu's expression turned fierce. He looked at Shen Kong, who had been standing at the side with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the battle calmly. "Only you are left, Shen Kong." Su Yu was filled with fighting spirit. Shen Kong was a legend that stood above the billions of heaven rulers of the North Continent. He was a monument that could never be erased from the hearts of countless geniuses. He was the unparalleled king above all the geniuses of the Ling family. Shen Kong, the king of heaven rulers, an unsurpassable king, an existence that billions of geniuses could not surpass, even if they tried. To be born in the same era as him was the sorrow of countless strong geniuses, as strong as Wei Qilin, who was unrivaled within 5 moves, and as strong as Sword Demon Zhongwan, who had created his own heart sword. No matter which era they were placed in, they were existences that illuminated a time and space. But to be born in the same era as Shen Kong, they were dim. This was their unspeakable sorrow. The person Su Yu wanted to fight, to win, and to compete with was this king, the king of geniuses. Mu Tianfang was excited. Su Yu had really walked in front of Shen Kong, but she looked at her master, silently mourning in her heart. Her master's eyesight was strong, able to see far into the future. She had determined Su Yu's ranking, as well as Zhongwan's ranking. This meant that there was no suspense in Su Yu's match. He had already lost without even fighting. Sienna was destined not to belong to Su Yu. Even his wish to see her in person had vanished into thin air. The crowd held their breaths, witnessing the attack of the king of heaven rulers. Would he be like the legends, defeating his opponent with 1 move? Shen Kong laughed. This laugh was filled with indescribable arrogance. It was as if a king was sitting at the peak, overlooking the masses, smiling as he watched mortals go through the cycle of life and death. That boundless aura of a king deeply affected everyone's hearts. Is it very funny? Su Yu broke the silence. To many people, Shen Kong was only laughing that Su Yu had overestimated himself. Shen Kong shook his head, still smiling. "No, I'm only laughing that you are too slow. What a boring and dry battle. You've been fighting for too long. Was it slow? Definitely not. The battle between the 4 of them will be decided within a few moves." There was no delay, but in Shen Kong's eyes, it was still too slow. This was because, in his opinion, these sparring matches were meaningless and not worth mentioning. Su Yu's expression was strangely calm. "Don't be anxious. It will be over soon." There was no need for too many moves between him and Shen Kong. The outcome would be decided within a few moves. Shen Kong's lips curled into a smile. "It will be over soon, but it can be faster. The 3 of you should team up. That way, you can end this quickly." No one felt that these words were arrogant to the ears of the crowd. It was as if this was how it should be. Shen Kong had the right to do so. Team up? Wei Qilin was silent for a moment. As proud and arrogant as he was, he did not reject. He turned his head to look at Zhongwan, then at Su Yu. "If we don't team up, no one will be able to take 1 move from him. If we team up, we still have the power to use 1 more move." Wei Qilin, who was beneath him, was filled with respect. Zhongwan smiled warmly. "Of course. I would also like to see the legendary legend of defeating his opponent with 1 move." The 2 of them looked toward Su Yu, only to see him take a step back. "I only wish to fight him one-on-one," Su Yu said calmly, his tone firm. If he wanted to win, he wanted to win openly and by teaming up. He could not accept such charity in front of Sienna. Chapter 377. Shen Kong's handsome face, which could make women jealous, was filled with confidence. He had the same indifferent smile. Attack. You only have one chance. If Shin Kong wanted, they would not even have the chance to attack. All right. Wei Qilin and Zhong Wan were unprecedentedly serious. Heaven-breaking 9 techniques, fifth palm, God-breaking. Man and sword is one. The two of them unleashed their strongest attacks. One sent out an 8-zhong palm shadow, while the other turned into a long sword and slashed down from the sky. Crack, crack. With the two of them as the epicenter, cracks appeared on the stage beneath their feet like spiderwebs. A terrifying power engulfed the stage, creating a violent wave. In a flash, the two of their attacks arrived in an instant. Shin Kong still stood at his original position with his hands behind his back, his handsome face still smiling. The wild wind lifted his long hair and fluttered his clothes, but it could not move him in the slightest. Only when the two of them neared did he slowly lower his hand and extend a finger. Zhong Wan's sword, as one, was like a rainbow, unstoppable. Such a thunderous sword was as fast as light, impossible to defend against. But Shin Kong seemed to know where the sword would land. He took the first step and extended his finger. A normal person would not have been able to detect this scene. But Su Yu, who had used his eyesight to its maximum, could clearly detect Shin Kong's subtle movement. He could predict. Thump! A dull thud, and a shocking scene appeared. The extremely fast man and sword as one came to an abrupt stop. Zhong Wan's forehead had been lightly touched by a finger, and the owner of the finger, Shin Kong, had not moved. It was as if Zhong Wan had not collided with a finger, but with a huge mountain. You have lost. Shin Kong smiled indifferently, his finger lightly extending. Rumble. Zhong Wan's body turned into an afterimage, flying back thousands of meters, directly crashing into the spectator seats. Under the violent impact, Zhong Wan's organs were shaken, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Climbing up from the rubble with difficulty, Zhong Wan wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and waved his hands. The legend of defeating the enemy with one move. Thank you for not killing me. That finger could completely shatter his skull. If Shin Kong wanted to, he could have easily killed him. Shin Kong had a faint smile on his face and did not bother with him. Instead, he moved his finger horizontally and swept it towards the 80-meter palm shadow that was attacking him from the side. Ignoring the terrifying pressure, his finger gently swept across the palm shadow. Instantly, the palm shadow was as light as a floating cloud. It was easily swept away and turned into layers of afterimages that crashed toward Wei Qilin. Wei Qilin had no time to dodge. The afterimage was too fast, and it struck him on the spot. Puff! Spitting out a mouthful of blood, Wei Qilin was sent flying into the auditorium, destroying an entire floor of the building. In the ruins, Wei Qilin was covered in blood. His qi and blood were extremely pale, and he was on the verge of death. One move to defeat an enemy. Under the gazes of tens of thousands of people, they witnessed this legendary miracle. Any enemy only had one move. Defeating Shin Kong with one move. After a moment of silence, the entire audience erupted into a frenzied roar, like the roar of the mountains and the roar of the seas. Too strong. The legend who defeated his enemy with one move, the undefeated king, Shin Kong. This is too shocking. I will never forget this battle for the rest of my life. Being born in the same era as him is a tragedy for those prodigies. The audience was unprecedentedly excited. Shin Kong's 2 fingers were like the legends, shocking everyone and subverting everyone's understanding. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's dignified expression revealed a rare look of satisfaction. Honing oneself to the peak, defeating an enemy with one move is all for naught. Mu Tianfeng, who was at the side, was equally shocked. After hearing the Phoenix Cabinet's master's evaluation, she looked at Su Yu with pity. What the Cabinet's master meant was that a martial artist who had gone through many hardships reached the peak and strived for the top of the world. However, when faced with Shin Kong, who defeated his enemy with one move, everything was for naught. Because in front of Shin Kong, they would only be defeated with one move. Just like the famous Wei Qilin, who had many battle achievements, no one in the same generation could last more than 5 moves against him. Such a genius, who could look down on his peers and was hard to find in the world, could only be defeated with 1 move when faced with Shen Kong. The genius Zhong Wan, who had gone berserk 9 times and survived, had created the Heart Sword, which was unprecedented on the continent. The genius of the present generation, when faced with Shen Kong, could only thank him for not killing him. Shen Kong was too strong. He was so strong that he overshadowed the geniuses of the same generation. All of the geniuses had become his foil. Under the gaze of the crowd, Shen Kong still stood with one hand behind his back, an indifferent smile on his face. He was like a god descending to the mortal world, looking down on all living things with a smile. "You only have 1 chance to attack," Shen Kong said with a smile. "No one can fight with me for a woman, even if she was once your woman." Su Yu's calm expression revealed a ripple. Was it Sienna? Su Yu turned to look at the snow-cloud, celestial sedan chair. Sienna had not spoken since the beginning. Could it be that she did not recognize Su Yu's voice? Or had she forgotten Su Yu's voice after not seeing him for a year? Retracting his gaze, Su Yu gradually restrained his rippling emotions and regained his composure. The stronger the enemy, the calmer Su Yu was. "Won't you know after trying?" Su Yu's eyes glowed with a cold light. Whoosh! Su Yu took out his silver bow and shot out an arrow of spirit energy. Shen Kong shook his head. "Didn't I tell you that you only had 1 chance to attack? A move that even Wei Qilin could deal with against me. Are you too nervous?" Extending 2 fingers, Shen Kong casually caught the arrow. "I have already given you the chance to attack. It's over." Creak! With a flick of his finger, Shen Kong sent the arrow flying back. The arrow was like a sudden clap of thunder. Its speed was even faster than when it had shot towards Su Yu. Under such circumstances, Su Yu did not even have time to react. Creak! Su Yu's chest had been pierced by his own arrow. "Ah!" Mu Tianfang screamed. The audience also let out a gasp. As expected, he had been defeated with 1 move. No matter what technique or who it was, they only had 1 move in front of Shen Kong. Tempering oneself to the peak, defeating the enemy with 1 move is all for naught. When the enemy was Shen Kong, all abilities were meaningless. Inu, the dark horse that had risen against the trend and stunned everyone, was no exception. But Shen Kong raised his eyebrows. When the spirit energy arrow had pierced Su Yu's body, he had felt that something was wrong. Other than piercing his body, the arrow should have sent his body flying. But other than the hole in his chest, Su Yu did not move an inch. Oh! Suddenly, Su Yu's body became blurry, turning into spirit energy and dispersing on the spot. "This is..." Shen Kong's smile stiffened for the first time. Second-grade clone technique. Outsiders might not know, but Shen Kong was in the North Continent's sub-palace. How could he not know the technique that the inspector overseeing them, was proficient in? Using spirit energy to create clones. This was the second-grade clone technique. "You got it right." A cold rebuke suddenly sounded beside Shen Kong. Shen Kong's pupils dilated. How was that possible? Since when did he sneak around to his side without making a sound? If one were to observe carefully, they would realize that the flow of time around Su Yu was 3 times faster than the outside world. Using time manipulation, Su Yu quickly used the second-grade clone technique, then used the clone to attract Shen Kong's attention and quickly moved to the other side of Shen Kong. When Shen Kong shot out the arrow, Su Yu was already prepared to attack. Thousand Thunder Finger. With a low grunt, Su Yu's fingers were surrounded by 300 thunderbolts. A 5-colored ring of thunder struck Shen Kong's head with the force of lightning. The attack was sudden, the angle was tricky, and the preparations were sufficient. No one could avoid it. The audience held their breaths and focused, bearing witness to the moment that was about to arrive. If Shen Kong was hit, then the legend of him defeating his opponent with 1 move would be completely overturned. Battling Shen Kong, destroying the legend. Could Su Yu, a genius youth who had risen from nowhere, destroy the legend that had shackled countless geniuses? Too many geniuses of the current generation had suffered the tragedy of their generation. They had been suppressed by Shun Kong for too long. The legend of defeating his opponent with one move had caused them to never be able to rise again, and they could only look up to Shun Kong. But Suyu was about to do it. The moment was right in front of them. Inu, battling Shun Kong, destroy the legend. Someone shouted with all his might. This shout caused a ripple. This sentence seemed to strike the helplessness and desire in the hearts of many strong fighters. Battling Shun Kong, destroying the legend. Fight, fight, fight. The audience roared angrily. Their hot blood, their passion, their excitement, and their desire were all instilled in these 6 words. Battling Shun Kong, destroy the legend. They could not fight Shun Kong, but they could place all their hopes on Suyu. The audience was in an uproar, their shouts shaking the heavens. Even if their voices were deafening and their eardrums hurt, it was difficult to suppress their madness. Feeling the will of the audience, Suyu's finger became even colder. Break. With a low roar, the 5-colored ring of lightning turned into a dazzling divine light, piercing through Shun Kong. At such a close distance, he had no chance of dodging. At least, as an immortal realm level 4 upper tier, he was not included. Creak. But what was heard was not the sound of lightning exploding, but the sound of a body being destroyed. After image, the cheers of the seething audience seemed to have been cut off by a knife, coming to an abrupt stop. Confusion, bitter smiles, disappointment, and complicated emotions were written all over their faces. He had failed. He had failed on the verge of success. Su had lost his last chance. The undefeated legend was still in front of him, and no one could destroy it. Zhongwan and Wei Qilin watched the battle anxiously. Their hearts had also been affected by Su Yu's attack, but the sudden scene had dealt them a huge blow. Zhongwan sighed in frustration. In the end, it still did not work. However, I finally understand why none of the immortal realm level 4 upper tiers could last more than one move in Shun Kong's hands. Wei Qilin looked at Zhongwan, a shred of bitterness faintly visible. Because he was not upper tier, he had long since broken through to immortal realm level 4 peak. The difference of 1 level between immortal realm level 4 was like the difference between heaven and earth. That was why the immortal realm level 4 lower tier Yuling, who was unrivaled among those of the same level, could only last 2 moves against the immortal realm level 4 upper tier Wei Qilin. The difference between immortal realm level 4 and immortal realm level 5 was like heaven and earth. Shun Kong had long since broken through to peak. Hence, he could suppress all the geniuses with one move. This was also the reason why Shun Kong was able to surprise everyone and dodge the attack that was impossible to dodge. Suyu had underestimated him. Everyone had underestimated him. This attack was destined to be unable to hit Shun Kong. Immortal Realm Level 4 peak? It seemed to be beyond Suyu's expectations. Suyu's body was still in the air when he heard a cold voice. You are the first person to force me to reveal my cultivation level. Suyu was still in the air, but it is a pity that your struggle is futile. Chapter 378. From the corner of his eyes, Shun Kong wore a cold smile. A dangerous glow flickered in his eyes. He was going to deal a heavy blow. The Phoenix Cabinet's master creased her brows, her red lips parting slightly as she tried to stop Suyu. But suddenly, the Phoenix Cabinet's master seemed to have realized something. She closed her mouth. Futile? Not necessarily. Suyu's lips curled into a cold, mocking smile. A red glow appeared in his eyes, and a ripple of space appeared. He had been prepared and was waiting to strike. Space control. Creak. A scene that no one could have expected appeared. The 5-colored ring of lightning that had missed Shun Kong and was shooting into the distance was suddenly enveloped by space energy. Shun Kong froze, his expression changing. He only had time to think, "Oh no," before a space ripple appeared silently behind him. The 5-colored ring of lightning that had missed appeared out of thin air. You. Shun Kong's expression finally changed. With a furious grunt, he tried to dodge again, but he did not have a chance. Shun Kong only had time to think, "Oh no," before the 5-colored ring of lightning struck his back. Rumble. As flames soared into the sky, a thunderous roar reverberated in the plaza filled with 10,000 people. The dust that was kicked up flew hundreds of meters into the air, covering the sky and the sun. It was a shocking sight. The rolling waves, along with the remnants of the lightning arcs, radiated in all directions. The plaza was dead silent. Suyu had actually succeeded in hitting Shin Kong. Before him, no genius had been able to withstand even one move from him, much less hit him. But today someone had done it. He had destroyed the legend of Shin Kong being undefeated in one move. The legend that was like a curse had finally been destroyed. At that moment, no one could describe the shock in their hearts. The legend of defeating the enemy in one move had been destroyed. The crowd was cheering wildly, roaring continuously. He did it. Inu did it. A move that destroyed the legend. Shin Kong did not defeat Inu in one move. I have witnessed a miracle. I have witnessed a new legend. The crowd was in an uproar like never before. Their cheers, excitement, and shouts melted into an earth-shattering sound, charging into the clouds. But there were also many people who had a different mindset. Many girls who were in love with Shin Kong covered their mouths in disbelief. Their eyes were filled with shock, disappointment, and the unbearable disappointment of a legend being destroyed. Some of the girls could not accept the fact that Shin Kong, who was like a god in their hearts, had defeated his opponent with one move. The cruel reality made them cry on the spot. The legend that stood on the divine altar collapsed with a loud bang. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's eyes revealed a gratified expression. Inu is indeed a rare genius. Unfortunately, there is only one Feng Xian. A trace of pity flashed across her bright eyes. Amidst the excitement of the crowd, the dust on the arena gradually settled. The scene on the screen gradually became clearer. Everyone held their breath and stared at the ring without blinking. Even if Shin Kong's true cultivation base was that of an immortal level 4 peak, it would be impossible for him to remain unscathed from such an attack. He might even be seriously injured. Amidst the blur, a figure stood amidst the dust. It was Palace Master Shin Kong. He didn't fall. No one was surprised by this. Shin Kong's power was deeply ingrained in everyone's hearts. What Suyu had destroyed was the legend of him defeating his opponent with one move. No one doubted his invincible legend that had never been defeated. No one had the thought of using a surprise attack to defeat Shin Kong. However, when the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, everyone gasped one after another. The ground where Shin Kong was standing had long been shattered by the rings of five-colored lightning. Not a single part of the ground was intact. The ground, which was full of scars, made it impossible for anyone to deny the terror of the attack. However, in contrast to the terrifying ring, an unbelievable scene appeared. Shin Kong still stood at his original position, unharmed. His black hair fluttered in the wind, his clothes clean and spotless. It was as if the terrifying lightning explosion had not affected him in the slightest bit. How could this be? Mu Tianfeng was in disbelief. Under that kind of attack, it is not impossible for him to be seriously injured when he was caught off guard. But how could he be unharmed? Master, what is going on? The Phoenix Cabinet's master looked at Shin Kong and said meaningfully, "This is the reason why I am willing to betroth Feng Xian to him. Other than Shin Kong, no one else in the North Continent is worthy of Shin Kong. Not even Inu." Mu Tianfeng muttered, "Could it be that he is really invincible?" The wind blew past everyone's hearts, but could not calm their trembling souls. What kind of power was Shin Kong? It was illogical that he was unharmed by such an attack. Even Suyu himself had a shocked expression. Your cultivation base is not just immortal level 4 peak. It is immortal level 5. Shreds of a horrifying destructive aura circled around Shin Kong's body. The reason why he was unharmed was because he had completely released his spirit energy at the critical moment. That was the destructive spirit energy that only immortal level 5 could use. Moreover, it was an aura that Suyu was familiar with. Immortal level 5. The crowd was deathly silent. Immortal Level 5 was a realm that most fighters could not hope to reach in their entire lives. It was rumored that it was a realm very close to the Divine Spirit Realm. Every movement of the Divine Spirit Realm contained an unimaginable destructive power. Only the masters of the super forces of the North Continent had such abilities. For example, Han Jianlin, Immortal Level 5 lower tier. For example, the Phoenix Cabinet's master, Immortal Level 5 lower tier. For example, the Snow Listening Tower's master, Immortal Level 5 lower tier. The On-US City's master, Immortal Level 5 lower tier. Immortal Level 5 was a realm that the North Continent had to look up to, but Shun Kong, a Vice Palace Master of Force, had actually reached such a frightening realm. He was not weaker than the Phoenix Cabinet's master. It was no wonder that the Phoenix Cabinet's master was willing to betroth Feng Xian to him, to rope in an Immortal Level 5 fighter. What kind of terrifying assistance was that? So he was also secretly shocked. Shin Kong was unimaginably powerful. When everyone thought that he was only an Immortal Level 4 upper tier, he had already left all the geniuses behind and was on par with many Heaven Masters. The so-called geniuses of the North Continent were perhaps just jokes in his eyes. So he took a deep breath. How could he have expected that the opponent he was going to face was in existence at the level of Ling Xiaotian? An indescribable laughter came from Shun Kong's mouth. His head was lowered, and his expression could not be seen clearly. But that laughter made one's hair stand on end. Shin Kong was furious. The Heaven Master level existence of the North Continent was furious. The crowd trembled, keeping quiet out of fear. To actually force me to this extent. Shin Kong lifted his head. His calm and warm expression had long since disappeared. What replaced it was an extreme coldness, especially his eyes, which emitted a coldness that could penetrate one's heart. Inu, I admit that I have underestimated you. You are very powerful, even more powerful than I expected. If I give you time, I have no doubt that there will be a day when you will surpass me. Shin Kong was cold and threatening. No one doubted that. Su Yu's stunning talents had undoubtedly announced a fact. In the future, Su Yu would be exceptionally powerful. So, I will not give you time to grow. You are too frightening. Shin Kong's murderous intents were revealed. The exceptional murderous intents, accompanied by the terrifying destructive aura of an Immortal Level 5 fighter, engulfed the entire place. No! The Phoenix Cabinet's master hurriedly stopped him. This place is not suitable for killing. Many geniuses had been invited by the Phoenix Cabinet. If they were to die here, the Phoenix Cabinet would not be able to escape responsibility. Moreover, you are both Vice Palace Masters of the Empire of Darkness. It would be too much for you to kill each other, the Phoenix Cabinet's master added. But Shun Kong's murderous intents were strong, and he rejected her decisively. No, you do not understand how frightening he is. Do you know what cultivation level he was at when he first came to the Empire of Darkness? Dragon Realm Level 5. In just half a year, he went from a nobody to a legendary genius whose name shook the continent. He was a frightening existence that could shake an Immortal Level 4. Can you imagine what cultivation level he would have in a few more years? These words undoubtedly caused a huge commotion. Many people had heard of Inyu's reputation, but not everyone knew of his origins. In just half a year, he had grown from Dragon Realm Level 5 to an existence comparable to an Immortal Level 4. This kind of cultivation talent was unprecedented since ancient times. Today, even if I do not kill him, I will cripple his cultivation level. Even if the Palace Master comes personally, it will be the same. Shin Kong had made up his mind. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was fearful. They were both Immortal Level 5 lower tier, and she might not be able to stop Shin Kong. With a flash in her eyes, the Phoenix Cabinet's master changed her tone, saying to Su Yu, Inyu, are you not going to apologize? Feng Xian was originally Shin Kong's fiancée. You insisted on snatching her away, which is why you are here today. The Phoenix Cabinet's master spoke at the crucial moment. Her original intention was for Su Yu to admit defeat and obtain Shin Kong's forgiveness. Mu Tianfeng, who was at the side, was secretly anxious. Only then could Su Yu preserve his life. The crowd of 10,000 was silent. The situation had taken a turn for the worse. It had turned from a sparring match into a one-sided provocation by Shen Kong. Su Yu's life depended on a single thought from Shen Kong. Shen Kong shook his head stubbornly. It's useless. Even if I lower my head and apologize, I will not let him off. Today, he will either die or have his cultivation level crippled. This was Shen Kong's threat, and it was the threat of a heaven master of the North Continent. The crowd broke out in cold sweat for Su Yu. No one could stop Shen Kong. Inu apologized first. The Phoenix Cabinet's master stood up. The most important thing now was to protect Su Yu's life. As for his cultivation level, compared to his life and future, it was no longer important. But what they did not expect was for Su Yu to quickly calm down after being shocked by Shen Kong's cultivation level. Hearing the Phoenix Cabinet's master's advice, Su Yu laughed. What a joke. It is obvious that he wants to harm me. Why do I have to apologize for no reason? Could it be that he will let me off after I apologize? The two rhetorical questions caused the Phoenix Cabinet's master to feel anxious. The situation before her eyes was not something she could control. Su Yu's actions would only worsen the situation. Handing my fate to someone else and letting them decide whether I live or die, said Su Yu. How self-deceiving is that? How pitiful and hateful. How cowardly and cowardly. Su Yu's eyes were filled with a fierce glow. Raising his head to look at the boundless darkness, Su Yu's gaze was deep. In the end, it fixed on the snow cloud, celestial sedan chair. Gentleness and determination fused in his eyes. My fate is up to me, Su Yu shouted. It is not up to that person, the heavens, or the earth. My fate is in my own hands. Su Yu shouted loudly. His sonorous words were like a great bell, cleansing the hearts of the people. The crowd of 10,000 unknowingly sat up straight, looking at the stage. In the midst of despair, in the midst of the rough circumstances, the figure who was unwilling to go against the flow. He was clearly small and skinny, but at that moment, everyone felt an indescribable grandeur. It was as if he was a god of war that could defy even the heavens. Shen Kong, you and I will have our final battle. Life and death will be up to the heavens. Su Yu's fierce eyes were burning with an unprecedented fighting spirit. The raging inferno boiled his hot blood, stirred his will, and fused with that soul-stirring resolution. He had not lost. He wanted to fight to the death with Shen Kong. Between them, one was a legendary genius of the North Continent, rising like a comet, piercing through the heavens and stunning an entire era. The other was the undefeated king of the North Continent, an unrivaled legend, unrivaled in power, dominating all the heaven rulers of the North Continent. Between them, who was the new legend? It was Su Yu who had defied the heavens and risen, destroying the old legend and creating a new legend that belonged to him. Chapter 379. Life and death is up to the heavens. He. Shen Kong laughed coldly. Even at this point, you still dare to say such words. Inu, if I did not have a reason to kill you, I really would not want to kill you. There was unconcealable admiration in his words. The crowd was silent. Life and death, leave it up to fate? With such a great disparity between them, in such a hopeless and hopeless situation, and in such a situation where death was certain, so you could still straighten his back and say that life and death were up to fate? What kind of spirit, what kind of courage, what kind of face death with equanimity? Ripples appeared in the Phoenix Cabinet's master's calm heart. She stared at the center of the challenge ring, at the unyielding and defiant figure. She suddenly felt that it was piercing to her eyes. Was it because she had been peaceful for too long? She, who had seen the fickleness of the world and the vicissitudes of life, was now filled with indescribable feelings. He was touched and full of admiration. Shen Kong. The Phoenix Cabinet's master sighed softly and stood up. Step down. I will protect Inu. He should not die here. Her gaze was calm, and there was no sharpness in her words. However, anyone could feel the will of the Phoenix Cabinet's master. Even if he had to fight with Shen Kong, he had to protect Inu. Shen Kong stopped in his tracks and raised his head to look. His expression kept changing. Shen Kong, Feng Xian is officially betrothed to you. How about we just forget about today's matter? The Phoenix Cabinet's master took a step back. Shen Kong stared at Su Yu, his eyes filled with unwillingness and fear. After weighing the pros and cons, Shen Kong nodded his head unwillingly. Forget it. However, there is only one chance. The Phoenix Cabinet's master heaved a sigh of relief and cast a friendly gaze towards Su Yu. She can only do this much for Su Yu. Everyone's tightly clenched hearts were relieved at this moment as they gasped for breath. The scene just now was truly heart-wrenching. It was fortunate that the Phoenix Cabinet's master was a righteous person and had the thought of a talented person. Hence, Su Yu was saved. However, a sudden sentence caused everyone to freeze on the spot. You haven't even asked for my opinion. The voice was clear, and it came from Su Yu, who was in the middle of the arena. The Phoenix Cabinet's master had a premonition that something was wrong. What do you mean? Su Yu raised his head. His youthful face was filled with determination. This battle, I must fight to the end, even if it means the destruction of this world. The crowd was dumbfounded. It wasn't easy for him to preserve his life, so why did he insist on throwing his life away? Even if he knew that it would destroy the world and turn into dust in the passage of time? The Phoenix Cabinet's master could not understand Su Yu's stubbornness. Why do you insist on fighting? Su Yu smiled. His smile was filled with persistence, determination, and warmth. Her eyes were filled with tenderness as she stared at the snow, cloud, celestial sedan chair. Because I came for Xian. She is a woman that even my life can't bear. How can we watch her marry someone else? Even if he died, he would fight to the end. This battle is only for Xian. The crowd was shocked. Su Yu's reason was actually a woman. Even if he knew that he would die, knew that there was no hope, knew that this was a battle that had already been decided, would he still press forward? For Feng Xian, for a woman, was it worth it? Xian, is it really that important to you? Shen Kong raised his head and sighed. I really don't want to kill you. The tens of thousands of spectators were not the only ones who were moved. Even the enemies were deeply moved, vowing to fight to the death for Feng Xian. Countless people looked toward the snow-cloud, celestial sedan chair. They looked at the Saint Lady, who had yet to appear and had not said a word. Their eyes were filled with envy. In one's life, if there was a person who did not care about worldly fame and fortune, nor did he care about life and death, but only for love, he would disregard his own safety and fight with vigor. Even if there were millions of people, he would still go forward and fight for his life. How fortunate would such a person be? Feng Xian was someone loved by heaven and earth. A man was willing to do this for her. The Phoenix Cabinet's master was stunned for a moment. Fight for Feng Xian? She was silent for a long time. Then a bitter smile appeared on her lips. You have made up your mind. I will not stop you. You, fight to your heart's content. She felt as if she had returned to her youth. Back then, she was also as beautiful as the sun. She had everything that Feng Xian had. The only thing she did not have was a man who would disregard his own safety for her. At that moment, even she could not hide her envy for her disciple. Without any more obstacles, Su Yu's gaze shifted from the snow cloud, celestial sedan chair, to Shen Kong. Let's fight. Shen Kong nodded, his eyes filled with complex, murderous intents. You are outstanding. I cannot compare to you. Crippling your cultivation level and letting you live in this world is cruel and disrespectful to you. Thus, I have decided to grant you death. Death was the greatest form of respect for a proud heaven ruler like Su Yu. Su Yu nodded deeply. You are the same. I will either kill you or let you go. This is the only way. In reality, Su Yu really wanted to know why Shen Kong wanted to kill him. There was no hatred between them, but Shen Kong had made it clear that he had to die. Before this, Shen Kong had instructed Deputy Palace Master Xiao Guang to cause trouble at the Inu Manor. The hatred between them had come without rhyme or reason, but all of this was no longer important. Defeating Shen Kong was Su Yu's only goal. The same rules apply. You only have this one chance to attack. Shen Kong stood with his hands behind his back. But this time, there will be no exceptions. An immortal realm level 5 was in existence like a heaven master in the North Continent. Any technique Suyu used would be futile in front of him. He only had one chance. Suyu understood this. Thus, he had to defeat Shin Kong with one strike. Suyu took a light breath, his expression solemn. He squatted down, his legs grabbing the ground tightly. Crack, because he had used too much force, the stone surface near his feet was crushed. His feet sank deep into the arena, submerging half his calves. His nerves were tense, his muscles squirming continuously, as though they were rocks that had been tightened. A cool breeze blew past. Under the cover of his clothes, his veins could be seen, as well as his large, tightened muscles. His expression was unprecedentedly serious. Before the fight had even begun, the crowd could feel an indescribable aura. It was as though Suyu was preparing a terrifying technique. The Phoenix Cabinet's master lifted her head to look at the sky, a hint of shock appearing between her brows. The spirit energy of the Phoenix Fort has been stirred. What a powerful force of nature. Whenever an immortal-level technique was used, it would be accompanied by a force of nature, whether strong or weak. But the force of nature that Suyu had caused had already surpassed the scope of an ordinary technique. Suddenly, the flowing spirit energy seemed to have heard the call of nature, all of it gathering towards Suyu. Without any warning, the rampaging spiritual energy set off a gale that filled the sky. Many fighters were caught off guard, and they were swept into the sky. Even roofs were blown away, the force terrifying. The ferocious spirit energy quickly engulfed Suyu's head, condensing into liquid form, forming clouds. Spirit energy cloud layer. The crowd's pupils shrank, losing their voices in shock. So much spirit energy had been condensed. What technique is this? What kind of technique is this? No one could understand what was happening in front of them. Even the Phoenix Cabinet's master was finally moved. Her snow-like eyes flashed with shock. Could it be that this is Buddhist saints' 8 characters? Being a heavenly roar reverberated between the heavens and the earth. It was filled with a nameless rhythm, as though it was an order. The horrifying spirit energy gathered above Suyu's head, forming the word Bing, 1,000 Chinese feet wide. An endless killing intent, an indescribable heavenly might, shot out from the word Bing. This word was filled with peerless killing intent. Shouts came from the word Bing, filling the heavens and the earth. It was as though the word Bing contained the roars of millions of soldiers and horses. The shocking killing intent was enough to kill the heavens, enough to destroy all life in the world. Crack! The teacup in the hands of the Phoenix Cabinet's master suddenly shattered. Her calm and elegant eyes were filled with a deep seriousness, her throat letting out a low murmur. A legendary level technique. How is this possible? Mu Tianfong, who was at the side, heard her master's soft murmur. She froze on the spot, as though she had been struck by lightning. A legendary level technique. That was an existence of the legends. It was a technique that could only be cultivated by deities. Suyu had actually cultivated a deity's technique. The 1,000 Chinese foot word, Bing, could kill everything. It was filled with a boundless killing intent, compressed within it. Once it exploded, it would destroy everything. Everyone, leave the area. No one is allowed to come within 100,000 Chinese feet. Immediately, retreat. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's eyelids twitched. She regained her senses, her expression changing as she hurriedly gave the order. Hearing this, the crowd sensed the severity of the situation. The suppressed killing intent within the word Bing caused their hearts to palpitate. Once it was unleashed, they would be crushed to pieces if they were too close. Whoosh, 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 figures charged into the sky, scattering in all directions in a hurry. They escaped 100,000 Chinese feet away, watching from afar. Let's go as well. The Phoenix Cabinet's master grabbed Mu Tianfong, retreating 10,000 Chinese feet away as well. This was the first time Mu Tianfong saw fear in her master's eyes. Master, how powerful is this attack of his? Mu Tianfong swallowed hard. her eyes unable to leave Suyu. That kid, whom she had almost captured as a thief, could actually cause her master to fear him. The Phoenix Cabinet's master stared at the word Bing, her expression solemn as she shook her head. This is the first time I have seen a legendary level technique. I have no way of knowing how powerful this attack is. The only thing I know is that if I were to receive it head-on, there would be no other outcome other than death. Even surviving with serious injuries would be a miracle. Shin Kong has lost, the Phoenix Cabinet's master said, her clear eyes staring at Suyu without blinking. Suyu, who was only a junior in her eyes, was actually hiding such frightening power. Mu Tianfang's mind felt like it was being struck by lightning, her mouth dry. He can kill master? She had thought that Suyu could at most threaten her master. But in the end, this attack was more than enough to kill her master. Inu was too powerful. He was so powerful that it made people feel suffocated and hopeless. On the arena, Shin Kong's expression was stiff, his eyes flickering violently. Deep within his pupils, it was overflowing with fear. That confidence, that arrogance, that aura of a king that looked down on the world had all disappeared at that moment. Divine. Words. Technique. Shin Kong clenched his teeth, suppressing his body from trembling. For words escaped from between his teeth. A legendary level technique. A divine technique that disregarded the suppression of levels. This kind of divine technique that should not exist in the Jinlong continent was actually controlled by Suyu. An aura of death encircled his mind. Shin Kong knew that he could not block this attack. Chapter 380. A deep sense of defeat welled up in his heart. He was strong, but Suyu was stronger. Suyu was the true king of the heaven rulers of the North Continent. He was the true king of all geniuses. Inu, this battle is not over. The word Bing was heard, and the universe was silent. The frequency of the murderous roar was too fast, exceeding the limits of what the human ear could capture. The crowd could not hear the murderous roar. They could only see the nothingness. With Suyu at the center, the shattered arena silently turned into dust as if it was made of tofu, drifting into the sky. The ground beneath the arena disintegrated layer by layer, forming a huge crater. The preparation area, the stairs, the railings, the gate, the walls, the stone chairs that the crowd had sat on, the observation platform that the Phoenix Cabinet's master had sat on. Everything seemed to dissipate like smoke, disappearing inch by inch before everyone's eyes, turning into dust that drifted in the air. In the blink of an eye, the huge arena had turned into a bottomless crater that was 10,000 feet wide. Everything was destroyed, leaving nothing behind. When a murderous roar finally dissipated, what appeared before the crowd was a bottomless crater that was 10,000 feet wide, as well as 50,000 feet of ground that was filled with cracks. 10,000 feet away, the crowd gasped, their hearts in shock. Due to their fear, it was difficult for them to make a sound. Suyu's attack had toppled everything they knew. At that moment, there was absolute silence. Only the soft sound of the dust falling could be heard. After a long time, the sound of people gasping could be heard from the crowd. Inu, he's really only 16 years old? No one could believe that this was done by a youth who had yet to reach adulthood. After a moment, the dust settled, and the ruins and empty arena appeared clearly before their eyes. The ghastly and terrifying scene caused everyone's hearts to tremble. Above the crater, a silver-haired figure stood alone in the air. Looking at his back, anyone would feel respect from the bottom of their hearts. Since ancient times, when had there ever been such a world-shaking genius in the Phoenix Meet? Top geniuses like Wei Qilin and Zhongwan would be the kings of the heaven rulers in any era. But this time, not only had they appeared, there was also the supreme king who stood above the heaven rulers, the rumored undefeated legend, Shin Kong. He had created a peak era. However, to everyone's surprise, a group of dark horses appeared out of nowhere. He had destroyed Shin Kong's undefeatable legend and created the strongest battle record in history. As a young man, even the Phoenix Cabinet's master had to retreat when he reached the level of a heaven master. No matter how many generations passed, no one could surpass such a legendary figure that shocked the annals of history. All of them had witnessed with their own eyes a legendary genius who could suppress an era. No matter how many years passed, they would never be able to forget it. Everyone's attention was focused on Suyu. It was as if Suyu was standing above billions of living beings, and he was being worshipped by them. After that day, Suyu's name would be on par with the continent's heaven masters. He would become a legend that the later generations would never be able to surpass. Did I win? Suyu's voice was hoarse, and it was extremely ear-piercing. His entire body was exhausted, as if all his strength and spiritual energy had been sucked dry. He swayed in the air and landed on the edge of the bottomless abyss. He didn't immediately recuperate. His weary eyes burned with the light of hope. He quickly swept his eyes over the crowd, searching for the figure he had worked so hard for. As if understanding his gaze, the crowd quietly made way. A snow-cloud, celestial sedan chair, filled with a holy aura, stood there quietly. Inside was the woman Suyu had yearned for in his dreams. "Sienna, I won. Come out and meet me." Suyu endured the burning sensation in his throat and said with difficulty. He believed that even though he was wearing a mask, even though his face had changed beyond recognition, Sienna would definitely be able to recognize that Inu was Suyu. However, the snow-cloud celestial sedan chair was silent for a long time before a gentle voice could be heard. The voice was beautiful and pleasant, like the voice of a celestial being. Hearing it, one felt that one's heart was empty and filled with a holy aura. Sorrow, anger, joy, and happiness, all of these emotions had disappeared. In one's heart, there was only that holy feeling. "I'm sorry, but I will only marry Shinkong. You can leave." The holy voice was ethereal, but it was completely emotionless. The indifference that kept people at a distance caused the expressions of many to change. Their gazes toward Suyu were filled with sympathy and pity. He had fought to the death for Sienna. Could it be that Feng Xian was not touched in the least? Why was she so heartless? Suyu froze on the spot. That voice was ethereal and contained a deep meaning. It was like Sienna's voice, but at the same time it was not. He could not tell if it was Sienna. "Come out. I only want to meet you once." Suyu repeated. The Phoenix Cabinet's master sighed, silently, feeling sorry for Shinkong. Her gaze landed on the snow-cloud, celestial sedan chair. "Fenger, Shinkong is dead. Reconsider." A calm voice came from the snow-cloud, celestial sedan chair. "Shinkong is not dead. Inu has lost." Eh? The crowd was shocked. Amidst that earth-shattering, murderous voice, Shinkong's corpse was not left. There was no way for him to survive. Suyu turned his head, activating his crystalline pupils. His expression gradually changed. The Phoenix Cabinet's master also turned to look. She was confused for a moment, then said seriously, "That is, in the sky above the bottomless abyss, a bronze mask floated in the air, rising slowly. Everything in the arena had turned to dust, but the bronze mask was safe and sound." Creak! A ripple of space came from the bronze mask. After that, as everyone gasped in shock, a strange scene appeared. The bronze mask glowed with a green light, and a figure appeared behind the mask. Shinkong, the undefeatable legend, Shinkong. That figure was him without a doubt. The only difference was that his handsome face was hidden behind the mask. He was completely unharmed. The Phoenix Cabinet's master stared at the mask, her expression gradually changing. Middle-grade divine artifact, eternal mask. What? Middle-grade divine artifact? Countless people gasped. Inu had a middle-grade divine artifact, and Shinkong had one as well. But the crowd knew the origin of Inu's silver bow. But where did Shinkong's divine artifact come from? The Empire of Darkness's sub-palace only had one middle-grade palace garrison divine artifact. How could they give Shinkong another one? But everyone understood that it was this divine artifact that had sucked Shinkong into that deadly attack, allowing him to avoid the disaster and escape unscathed. The hearts of countless people sank. Didn't possessing such a divine artifact mean that Shinkong was undefeatable? As long as it was not beneficial to him, he would immediately enter the divine artifact. Who in the world could do anything to him? On the other hand, Suyu's previous attack had clearly used up all of his spirit energy and stamina. His throat was also severely affected. It could be said that he was completely exhausted and could not use it a second time. Under such circumstances, how could he fight Shin Kong, who was completely unscathed? The one who had lost was Inu. He had lost this battle, lost the woman he loved, and lost his life. As expected, "I cannot let you live," said Shin Kong. "You have forced me to this extent. If I had known this would happen, I would have killed you at all costs the first time I met you." He had a serious expression, filled with murderous intent. No one could stop him anymore. Suyu had to die. The crowd was confused. Could it be that Shin Kong and Suyu already had a grudge? Everyone looked towards Suyu and realized that his gaze was fixed on Shin Kong's mask, his expression unprecedentedly serious. "So it's you." Suyu bit his teeth, his heart filled with shock. Bronze mask, bronze mask. Suyu would never forget the mysterious leader of the Black Water Pirates in the Inu area. As the leader of the Black Water Pirates, he had massacred them after making use of them. He had then chased after too long and Suyu, allowing them to escape. At that time, Suyu was like an ant in front of him, without any ability to retaliate. To be able to escape and ascend to the heavens was a blessing. Suyu was clear about this person's motive. He wanted to use the Black Water Pirates to excavate the underground tomb in the Inu area and obtain the so-called door. From what Suyu knew, that door was the target of a group of mysterious plated bamboo hat men. Behind the plated bamboo hat men was an invincible existence comparable to the King of Darkness. The Ninth Saint Master. The leader of the Black Water Pirates was a subordinate of the Ninth Saint Master. However, the leader was actually Shin Kong. He was a spy of the Empire of Darkness. "Looks like you have already recognized me." Shin Kong's eyes were filled with murderous intent. No wonder Shin Kong was so determined to kill Suyu. No wonder he had sent people to provoke Suyu. Everything was clear now. Shin Kong was the leader who had searched for the mysterious door. In his eyes, the treasures in the underground tomb had been plundered by Suyu. That door was definitely in Suyu's hands. That was the main reason he wanted to kill Suyu. "So, I cannot let you live." Shin Kong was filled with murderous intent as he approached. The Phoenix Cabinet's master's expression changed, but she was too far away. How could she save Suyu in time? Suyu was exhausted. His body was empty of spirit energy. How could he fight Shin Kong at his peak? He had lost this match. He had lost this match. He had lost his life. And he had lost Sienna. Looking at the snow cloud, celestial sedan chair in front of him, looking at Sienna, who was just inches away, looking at Sienna, who was within reach but far away, Suyu's heart was in turmoil. From the misunderstanding at the Twilight Mountains, to the engagement at their second meeting, to the disaster at the Duke of Xinyu's palace, to their reunion at the Fengwang Valley, and their parting at the Xinyu Prefecture. He had thought that after their reunion, he would bring Sienna far away. He had thought that from then on, they would never be separated. He had thought that from then on, he would give Sienna a promise of a future. But the truth was that Sienna had fallen in love with someone else. Even before she died, she was unwilling to see Suyu. She was only willing to marry Shin Kong, the person who wanted to kill him. Why had he chased her from Shanyue Island to the Jinlong continent? From the Xianyun sect to the 100 Territories Alliance? From the Empire of Darkness to the North Continent? Why had he increased his abilities step by step? All for the sake of controlling his own fate, to give him and Sienna a future that no one could affect. However, the reality was so cruel. He was going to die at the hands of Shin Kong, and Sienna was going to throw herself into Shin Kong's embrace. Dissatisfaction, grief, and anger surged in his heart like a raging wave. Why? He had already worked so hard, fought so hard, but the heavens had given him such a fate. The woman he loved had thrown herself into someone else's embrace, and he was going to die in front of her. Before he died, even the chance to see her was taken away. All the hard work he had put in had turned into bubbles in front of fate. The heavens were making fools of people, and fate was unfair. Su Yu's heart went from disappointment to grief, from grief to dissatisfaction, and from dissatisfaction to anger. Why did fate have to shackle him, give him so many hardships, and give him such a tragic end? His life had only been a short 3 years, but he had been oppressed by fate, oppressed by unfairness, and made fools of by fate.